Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yao Me of Revolution, and the world is a stage. The movie Snake Eyes predicted Charlie Kirk dead. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, when I seen this last night, I almost fell out my bed and couldn't wait to present it to y'all. It's other people talking about this now, but this is the first platform I seen it on. And Trump guilty as shit. Freemasons guilty as shit, and the world is a stage.
What if I told you that the assassination of Charlie Kirk was foretold in a movie, a 1998 movie starring Nicolas Cage, called Snake Eyes? Now, maybe you've heard of what I'm about to talk about. Maybe you're up to date with it, or maybe you're new to this whole thing. Either way, what we're about to do in this video is going to blow this whole thing open and leave no room for doubt that this is predictive programming. This is Operation Mockingbird. This is actually a little bit deeper than both of those things, because
as we dig into this, what it go to show you, when you listen to Charlie Kirk, you're like, ain't nothing amazing about him. He not no phenomenal intellectual. No, he not. It's like, so what is it about him? Then you go back into his story and how put together it was. Yeah, and how Erica Kirk, his new wife, knew Trump before they knew him, and they sicked her on him. Then Trump took him under his wings as a young man. They built this man up to do exactly what they did to him.
In my opinion, this is a classic case of the writers of a movie getting information from demons, from spirits, from the spiritual realm about future events that will come. So we're going to get into this in more detail, but real quick, I just want to say that this movie, it stars Nicolas Cage. It's about an event, a live event at Trump Tower, okay, on September 10th. A live event on September 10th at Trump Tower that a boxer named Tyler the Executioner, okay, seriously, Tyler the Executioner. I'll put the picture up right here. Who is the executioner in our timeline? Tyler. Okay. So Tyler the Executioner on September 10th, he causes a distraction and allows a man named Charles Charlie Kirkland to be shot in the neck. Why, you might ask? Well, if it's not creepy enough, it's because, well, let's just say it has to do with Israeli weapons, and some shady things that are happening behind the scenes. Just like in real life, Charlie Kirk came out against Israel, and the possible, well, he didn't come out against Israel. He came out against Jeffrey Epstein and the possible ties Jeffrey Epstein had or has with Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just break this down, and I really want you guys to listen carefully, because what we're about to go over and what we're about to explain is really one of the most chilling examples. Some people might call it art imitating life, life imitating art, but I think it's something deeper, something far darker than that. And that's channeling something. That's the people that wrote this movie were channeling something far darker. And it's really unavoidable at this point, and it's unexplainable unless you really use critical thinking and you think about this through the lens of the Bible. And we'll get into that. So we're going to make this whole thing connect in ways that people, your mind's going to be blown. Okay. So this isn't some vague connection. It really isn't. It's not a loose metaphor. We're not grasping at straws here. We're not forcing this thing. No, this is a direct mirror. Seriously, line for line, shot for shot, no pun intended. It's between this Hollywood film and a real world assassination of Charlie Kirk. What, 2-3 weeks ago now? Okay. So stick with me. We're going to break this down, and make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to wrap this whole thing together in a nice, tidy little bow, and it's going to leave no room for interpretation, because the Bible talks about this stuff happening. and the Bible is 100% real. So this proves it. All right, let's get into it. Maybe you know the film. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't. Snake Eyes. It was directed by Brian De Palma, starring Nicolas Cage, and on the surface, it's a flashy thriller. There's neon lights, there's all these crazy things happening, there's fancy editing, split screen shots. It was a cool movie at the time. Nobody thought there was anything deeper associated with it. And at the heart of this movie, it's an assassination plot that foreshadows in chilling detail the death of Charlie Kirk, like we talked about. But we're going to get into it a little bit deeper here. And folks, honestly, when you see the parallels between this movie and real life, you're not going to call this coincidence. It's impossible to be coincidence.
Okay. So once we see this is not a coincidence, this movie, and this is one of my favorite movies. I absolutely know about this movie, Snake Eyes. I love it. I might watch it after we go live. So once we understand what they did, and that it actually talks about the assassination of this Charlie Kirk character. Well, what the hell happened? They set that boy up. They energy. This is an energy harvesting. It's a bunch of demonic things going on, Freemason rituals, and they groomed them to do exactly what they did to him.
You're going to see it for what it is. It's a pattern. It's a ritual. It's black magic that was broadcast through Hollywood from the spiritual realm. In the film, evil, it takes place in a live event.
The people evil.
So here we have two live events. The live event, the boxing match in the movie, and the live event, Charlie Kirk speaking in Utah. And in the movie, the middle of all of it sits a powerful man who was there, Defense Secretary Charles Kirkland. Okay? Remember that name.
Charles Kirkland is the person who gets shot in the neck and assassinated in his movie Snake Eyes. Charles Kirkland, Trump Tower even played a big part of this movie. Oh, yes. But old Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck in this movie.
Charlie Kirk, Charles Kirkland. It's the same thing. Okay. Now, as the fight begins, one of the boxers, Lincoln Tyler, whose name is Tyler the Executioner in the movie.
Tyler the Executioner shot. Tyler, who's the executioner, shot Charles Kirk in the neck in this movie. They're saying Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk in the neck in real life. They set that boy up, and once you see it's not a coincidence, now you're like, he just was a puppet. They just used him. But what was the purpose? Demonic, ritualistic energy harvesting right now. A lot of energy is in the air right now. They're harvesting that. These damn devils. And they go to show you how they don't give a shit about their own people. We definitely got to watch them. They did that boy dirty. Never cared about it.
Here's a picture showing a scene from the movie. Tyler the Executioner, September 10th. He takes a dive in the first round. He was paid by Israel to do this, to distract the crowd so that Charles Kirkland can be accessed by the sniper and shot and killed. Basically mirroring exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk. He was shot in the neck, okay? So in the scene, it shows the Secretary of Defense, Charles Kirkland, collapsing, shot in the neck, directly in the neck, a neck wound. Kirkland, Tyler the Executioner, nonetheless. These details are burned into the script, okay? And these details are essential to the Charlie Kirk story. These details are matching. They match in the movie and they match in real life. What are the odds of this? Well, it can't be random. It's too much. So back to the movie. As the plot unfolds, what do we find? The cover story is terrorism, but the truth inside the script is much darker. It's a corrupt Navy commander and a defense contractor who have set the stage for this whole event to take place. They staged it all. They staged the entire spectacle to protect an arms deal with Israel. That's right. Israel, okay? And we have Israel in the news right now. It's spelled out in the screenplay, in the dialogue, and it was written probably in sometime in the early 90s because movies usually take a few years to produce. So script was written. It got the green light by the studio. And then the movie was filmed probably in 1996, 1997 for a 1998 release. Now, fast forward September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University, Charlie Kirk is standing before a crowd of young people, speaking, engaging, doing what he always did, and suddenly, bang, the sniper's bullet slams into his neck. He collapsed. Tragic, heartbreaking thing. And, the rest is history. Such a terrible tragedy. People screaming everywhere, phones recording. It was pandemonium. It was chaos. And the whole thing was being live streamed to the entire world.
That's a good movie too.
Exactly like the movie. The fighting match, the boxing match was being broadcast live. So again, we have Tyler the Executioner, Tyler Robinson, okay? Tyler the Executioner in the movie. Tyler Robinson was the executioner.
They got patsies. Nicolas Cage is the patsy. They only brought his partner set him up, brought him out to be a patsy. But they got patsies in the movies like Tyler Robinson is a patsy in real life.
In real life. You can't make this stuff up, people. You really can't. You have September 10th in real life. September 10th in the movie. You have Charles Kirkland in the movie.
September the 10th was the big day that it went down in Snake Eyes. September the 10th was the day, the big day it went down in real life. These people are sick, bro.
Movie. Charlie Kirk in real life. Okay. Do you guys see the mirror yet? Is it starting to make sense? Because it should.
See, they guided Charlie to his death. They played him, groomed him to whack him. They knew the whole time they built him up with this character that he was playing, what they was going to do to him. On September the 10th, 2025, they already knew it. Trump already knew it. That nigga is cold. Trump knew it. Designers knew it. The Freemason, his wife knew it. She a Freemason. She knew it. That's why they put her on that boy. He was a pig that was going to get slaughtered when it became a hog.
And at this point, you're probably thinking, how in the world does this even make sense? What does it mean? What is the implications? And how is it possible? We're going to get into that into just a minute. But just hold on a second, guys, because right before his death, Charlie Kirk, okay, he went on record demanding that the government release the Epstein files. Sealed court documents from the Epstein files. He demanded that they be released. Many believe that the Epstein files will hold the key to Epstein's global influence of blackmail, his operation that he had, which, in my opinion, is a lot darker than blackmail. It's human sacrifice. It's spiritual warfare. They're summoning demons, and they're putting these demons on the people who went to his island, and all the other stuff was kind of just, they went along with that. But the main thing was murder, human sacrifice, demon summoning, spirit possession. Okay. And this is what the Bible talks about. But I digress. Let's move back a little bit. So on stage with Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk raised the possibility, yes, the possibility, and we've all been talking about this for a long time, that Jeffrey Epstein was in fact an asset of the Israeli government. He was an Israeli intelligence asset, a Mossad operative, maybe even an agent. And now Charlie Kirk said this with Megyn Kelly. He didn't claim it as fact, but he asked the question out loud, right? And the immediate reaction was, as you would suspect, he was blasted for saying it. The American Jewish Committee condemned him for saying that, basically saying he was anti-Semitic for even suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein was working with the government of Israel. So, I mean, they dismissed the claim. They said it was lies and it wasn't real. But anybody who can put two and two together, it makes sense why that they're so reluctant to release these files. Okay, why Trump zigzagged on it so many times, why he turned around and changed his opinion. Trump used to be all about releasing the files. Then he learned something, and now it's all a hoax. The files aren't real. Jeffrey Epstein was a hoax, according to Donald Trump now. So the fact remains this, honestly. Just before his death, Charlie made this connection between Epstein and Mossad. And then something happened, right? But was it because of that? Or was this whole thing written decades in advance? And I believe so. The same motif is running underneath Snake Eyes and the real life event. Okay, we can see these things, we can see the connections, and it's really undeniable. So how many coincidences, honestly, does it take before you start to see the pattern, before the pattern emerges? Okay, because maybe you can see it, but most people don't see these patterns. They see it as a coincidence that, oh, that's funny, ha ha ha. It's not funny. It's actually pretty disturbing. So let's just lay these things side by side, and we're gonna make sure that everybody watching this can really understand what I'm talking about. So the name echoes. We have Charlie Kirk and Charles Kirkland. Well, if that was the only thing, maybe it could be a coincidence. But then we have the wound. Both of them were shot in the neck with the same exact precision. Same cinematic imagery as the movie. Coincidence? Now we're starting to see a pattern. Then we have Tyler the Executioner. Okay. In the movie, the boxer was Lincoln Tyler. Okay. Tyler the Executioner. That was his name. And in real life, we have Tyler Robinson. Hmm. So we have Tyler Robinson, who was the executioner, and we have Tyler the Executioner. Same role. Okay. Different archetype. We have a 22-year-old kid or whatever, and we have a boxer on the other hand. Tyler, the agent of chaos. Okay. So then we have the Israeli connection. In the film, it's a cover up for weapons transfer to Israel. In real life, Kirk had raised the question that Epstein was connected to Israel through Mossad. So there's our Israel connection. And then you have September 10th. Okay. And I believe, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that this whole thing happened in Atlantic City at Trump Tower, or one of Trump's hotels, Trump Hotel. Okay, so you have the Trump connection, you have September 10th, you have all these other things. So honestly, what do you think's going on? I think I have an idea, and we'll get to that. But we either have a glitch in the Matrix, just like how in the Matrix, Neo, his his passport expired on 9/11/2001. Here's a picture of that. And another thing too. These things, okay, these similarities between Hollywood movies and real life events, this predictive programming, it's not new. Okay, we've been talking about this for a long time. A lot of people have. The Simpsons connection to 9/11. Here, look at this picture. We have all the things on the X Files that happened. Okay, we have basically there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of examples of Hollywood movies that predicted real life events, and we can't really get into all of them here because that's not what this is about. So I don't want to risk beating a dead horse on this and just keep talking about the same things, but it really is something that we need to take a closer look at. We need to really understand the methodology behind this and the inspiration for the people who wrote this movie, right? What is it? It's black magic, and I'll get into that. So it's not coincidence. It's predictive programming, yes, but it really is demonic inspiration. It is the people, whether knowingly or not, they they open themselves up to demonic inspiration. They open themselves up to the spirit realm.
Charlie did that.
And that's what's happening here, okay? Now, folks, I want you to hear me out. Okay? I want you to hear me loud and clear, and I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm about to say because it's very important. What we're dealing with here is not random. It's not chance. It's not sloppy writing. It's not even lazy Hollywood tropes. No, it's far more sinister and it's far darker than anybody can realize. What we're seeing over and over again through the systematic use of predictive programming is occult ritual. It's satanic. It really is. And it's known in occult circles as lesser magic, but more specifically, the revelation of method. The revelation of method is well known occult um, practice. Basically, what it says is when you do a ritual, when you're trying to influence the future, you have to show the public. You have to show it first, right? So if they're planning on doing X, they have to show what X is in advance. They have to put it out into the world. They have to bury it into people's consciousness before they actually do the thing. So you might be thinking, how does that make sense? You'll see. You'll see. It gets pretty deep here in just a minute. So this thing that we're talking about here, the revelation of method, it's just a framework. It's the framework that the elite use. They follow themselves, and they believe that, like we just said, before they unleash their next crisis, the next assassination, the big next false flag, they have to show you this first. It's part of their ritual. They have to show it to people, and they have to put it in your face. And that's why so many Hollywood movies, TV shows, and all these things predict things, right? That's why it's occultism. It's just ritual. And you might be wondering, how do they get this knowledge? Okay. How do they get it? How do they know these things are going to happen? The same way that when somebody goes to a medium or some sort of psychic and asks what their future is going to be, the demons are going to tell you what your future is. Okay. What do you think psychics, where do you think they get their information? They get it from the spirit realm. The spirits, the demons, the fallen angels, they know what's going to happen. They see the future. And in a way, they might not know every single detail, right? Because it says in the Bible that the Lord knows the beginning from the end. So the Lord knows everything. But these demons, these spirits, these things that live over there, they have access to it too. They definitely don't have as much access as the Lord, because the Lord, he knows everything. But these things, they can see the future. That's why in the Bible it tells you not to consult a medium, because they're consulting with spirits. And we're not supposed to be associated with spirits, with demons, with any of that stuff, right? And, in my opinion, that's really how they come to agreement on this. It's just my analysis, and it comes out of the occult literature. It's well known. There's been confessions from occultists themselves. There's been books written about it. They call it a psychodrama. They call it ritual theater. And Hollywood has been an altar for black magic for decades. It really has. Let's bring all this in a little bit more, okay? Because I feel like we're out here. Let's bring it in a little bit more and talk a little bit more about predictive programming. Because I've stated that I believe that this comes from the spirit realm. Other people might disagree with me. So we're going to cover the possibilities, at least the three major possibilities of how they've got this information and put it into the movie. So the simple answer here would be just basic predictive programming, right? You condition the public by slipping future events into entertainment, right? Into movies, into TV shows, into books, so that when the actual event happens in real life, it feels normal, or it feels like you're in a movie. How many times did you hear people say when they see something crazy happen, "Oh, it feels like I was in a movie. It feels like I'm in a movie. It doesn't feel real." When 9/11 happened, everybody, I remember it. Everybody was saying, "It feels like a movie. It doesn't feel real." Why? We've seen these things in movies before. They want us to be accustomed to these things. So they put these images in movies so that when we see them in real life, it feels normal. It feels inevitable, right? It doesn't shock us like it would if we hadn't seen it. It basically lulls people into a sense of security. The subconscious has already accepted it, right? That's why they've showed it to us. We've accepted it, just like the Simpsons episode that referred to 9/11 before 9/11 happened. Yeah, I've seen that before. That's what people are thinking. And that's by design. That's why after COVID hit, millions of people looked back at the movie Contagion and said, huh, this feels eerily similar to real life events, because they had already scripted the whole thing out. They preloaded it with imagery, with everything, the phrases, the narrative beats, basically the characters, the chaos, the whole thing's in the movie Contagion. So predictive programming is more about eroding the resistance, just subconsciously showing people things. So when it happens, they accept it. It works. It really does. It's a psychological trick that they use, but that doesn't explain where they get this knowledge from, because you can't just say, okay, um, 20 years from now, this movie is going to come true in a different way. X, Y, and Z is going to happen just like in the movie. You can't just say that unless you're getting this information from somewhere else, right? You can't just make this stuff up. And the elite can't pre-plan this, right? How can they pre-plan it? Charlie Kirk was just a kid when the movie was written and filmed and shown in theaters. Charlie Kirk was what, 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. So it doesn't make sense that they would.
It do make sense. All they would do is, like I say, these people are very smart. All they had to do was look for somebody who fit the character, look for somebody who fit the name. Him having that name on his birth certificate, he just don't know he got put in the lottery. And as he went through high school, he's a snotty nosed racist. They smiled. Then went to college or whatever. They like what they seen. Then they told you a rich 81-year-old stepped out of nowhere. He said he seen something in Charlie. Yeah, you seen that you wanted him whacked. There was a fucking Freemason, and he set that dummy up. And the how you know is Charlie was he wasn't no great speaker, bringing no phenomenal new ideas to the table. He regurgitated racist talking points from that they had been using forever. But we just didn't consider like, what was they gonna do with him? Never was he gonna be a future president. No, he was a pig getting fed to get slaughtered, bro. That was it. See, saying he was a future president, that just built up the energy when they kill him in front of all those people. You see?
The elite would say, "Oh, there's this baby here. We're gonna raise this baby up, and we're gonna infiltrate his family, and we're gonna make him into some speaker and a famous person on YouTube and everywhere else, and then we're gonna enact this plan, right? Because you can't control somebody's life like that.
Bullshit.
So
he willing. He played along right. He fit. His ego. You see, his ego. His ego built him up to fit the shoes for this character that they was gonna do the same thing they did to in that goddamn movie to him.
Oh, the more likely explanation is that, like I said before,
what happened.
These people are getting the information from demons, from spirits, from the other side. They're consulting psychics, maybe intentionally or not. Who knows? It's possible that somebody can open themselves up to things like demonic influence, okay, without even trying.
Yeah, he did.
If you open these doors in your life and you're not a Christian, you have open doors, the spirit realm will influence you. And somebody like a writer, look at Stephen King, for example. Stephen King even openly said that he used to get drunk and get wasted and take all these drugs, and these books would just flow out of him. He didn't have to think about it. He would write the books, and it was almost as if he didn't write them. Okay, somebody else wrote those books. Those are the spirits. That's the spirit realm working through Stephen King. A lot of artists will call it a muse. Okay, a muse is the spirit working through them. This is well known in all sorts of different circles. Okay, you have artists, like actual like painters, who would say that they would go into a trance and paint these paintings while they're in a trance. You have writers like Stephen King, like we were talking about with the movie, the writer of this movie. Who knows what he was into, right? So he was obviously in contact with something. Some sort of spirit was working through him, was writing this script through his hand. Now, doesn't mean it's intentional, okay? A lot of these people, you just have to open yourself up and the spirit will take over from there. And I mean, this is the same thing that's happened time and time again. I mean, look at the movie The Lone Gunman. The plot, remember the plot of The Lone Gunman? Terrorists will hijack a passenger plane and aim it at the World Trade Center. A few months later, what happens? 9/11. I mean, same scenario over and over again. We can't escape it, okay? This is the reality we live in. Other people might be saying, well, this is just a glitch in the matrix, okay? Glitch in the matrix, like Neo's passport that we keep talking about. Can it be coincidence? How could it be coincidence? Okay, first look at the Wachowski brothers, okay? The people who wrote The Matrix. Look what they've become. I can't really say it, but if you know, you know. The Wachowski brothers wrote The Matrix. They're into some stuff, and now look at them, okay? That just shows
they did not write
everything you need to know.
From their blood.
Anyway, how did they come up with the number 9/11/2001 on Neo's passport? Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay. Look at all the other things that are happening in the Matrix that are happening now. In the Matrix, they were able to program themselves and learn languages, learn fighting skills, learn all these things by programming a computer. That's exactly what's happening now with Neuralink. I mean, is it coincidence? It's not. They're literally just getting this information. The spirits are telling them there will be a time when this happens. Put this date here, intentionally or not. They might feel when they're writing, Neo's passport has to say 9/11/2001. They don't know why they would have to put 9/11/2001, but they would feel it so strongly in their spirit that they would literally be forced to put it down. It's just something they don't understand why, but they have to put it down. On the flip side of that, they do understand why, and they're consciously doing rituals and calling these spirits into them to possess them, to help them write this. Okay. That's probably a possibility too. Oh, that definitely is a possibility. Okay. This whole thing isn't just me making stuff up. It's a prop, it's a set piece. It was made as a physical item in the movie. Look, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. So I think the Matrix came out like 1 or 2 years. No, it was like 2 years before 9/11. Okay. And then all the weird things on The Simpsons. We've talked about the 9/11 imagery already, but what about Trump riding the escalator when he became president? Simpsons predicted that too. What about the fact that The Simpsons predicted Disney buying Fox? Hmm. Yeah, Simpsons predicted that too, that Disney would buy Fox, and it happened. So these things happen, guys. I mean, it's shocking, but it really shouldn't be to us or to most people because we can see these patterns, and these patterns are just blatantly obvious to us. Um, so, I mean, you can call it predictive programming, you can call it revelation of the method, you can call it lesser magic, you can call it simulation theories, glitch in the matrix, the Mandela effect, spirit channeling, demon possession, demon oppression. But the bottom line is this: we are living in a world where fiction and reality are merging, where spirits whisper into the writers of these scripts and into our culture itself. But listen to me, guys. God will not be mocked. Nope, he will not. He warned us,
That's what Charlie.
he armed us, and he told us to test the spirits and to put on the armor of God. Is your armor of God on? Have you put it on? Well, you should. You need to resist the devil, and he will flee. He's scared of us, guys. So, what do you think about this, guys? Seriously, put it in the comments below. I want to thank you all for watching, and God bless you all.
Charlie. It was Charlie who played with God and played footsie with the devil. He thought he had some rich white sugar daddies. You know, that's what Charlie thought. So Charlie probably got Jeffrey Epstein by them people at a young age too.
Hey, what's going on with y'all, man? It's Black Balloon. We back with another video, all right? Now, look, I know some of y'all seen this already. I'm not gonna lie. My mind was kind of blown. But I'm not surprised. Y'all already know we had to jump on this topic of the Nicolas Cage movie that predicted the Charlie Kirk situation called Snake Eyes. We shouldn't even be surprised. Shoot, a lot of people skipped over this giant triangle right here with Nicolas Cage. It's the same thing, same symbolism as the one eye. We already know what's going on. But look, check this out. Before we get into the clips where people talking about how it predicted the Charlie Kirk situation, check this out. I'm not going to say nothing because y'all already know this stuff will get flagged. Y'all remember this book though, right? I'm going to blow it up on the screen. Y'all remember this, right? Remember, this was supposedly written back in 1981. Snake Eyes movie was 1998. We in 2025. Y'all remember this, right? And what this predicted happened in 2020. Whatever you want to call it. Predicted it, foreshadowed it. It was in the plan the entire time. The world is a stage. I just had to show y'all that. Just in case some people just be like, oh, it was a coincidence, blah, blah, blah. Nah, the world is a stage because how long ago did they write those cards? Them illuminated cards that's still, damn near coming true today. It lets you know what kind of world we living in, all right? So check this out. This was one of the first clips I saw. I already knew we had to talk about it. We also got to get into a little bit of Erica Kirk and what's been going on with her name lately. As far as now, I don't know if it's completely true. I did search it up, and obviously the mainstream, MSN articles are denying that she was involved with trafficking in Romania and stuff like that. But I do want to play the clips where people are talking about it because, man, it gives us a whole new light on the things that she possibly could be involved in, from a.
And I even went into Candace Owens' comment section just to see if her people was going to be. Some of them are saying Candace, she realizes Erica needs to be questioned, but she's just biding her time. Now, Candace Owens better say something about this information that done came out about Erica Kirk and her Freemason ways and being tied to Israel. Since Candace Owens keep talking about Israel, well, why don't you talk about his wife who was tied to Israel before she even met him? And who was tied to Trump before she even met him, and who is a Freemason and wore that Freemason ring in that video where she was allegedly standing over his casket.
Very young age. I mean, I think she's around the same age as Kirk was. I think he was 31 years old, right? So, anyways, check out this clip real quick. This was the first one I saw about the snake eye thing.
In the movie Snake Eyes, which was made in 1998, a guy named Charles Kirkland gets hit right in the neck, right in the same exact spot that guy right there did.
Y'all all go watch this movie again, man. Before we meet back up, go look at this movie. I know I am, because I like that movie any goddamn way. But I'm definitely gonna go rewatch it now.
What? Who are you? Where? My lucky number. What?
On top of that, in the very first 10 seconds of the movie, you see this, the executioner, Tyler, and it says September 10th. No, this is just a coincidence, guys.
That's crazy.
It's just a coincidence. It's not predictive programming. Oh, and then the girl right there that kind of looks like Marilyn Monroe, looks like Eric Kirk. Yeah, I said Eric. You heard me. It's all a stage. It's all an act. I've been trying to tell you guys over and over. It's all fake. And then Trump also gave his UN speech in front of a giant flat earth map. Entertainment only. I made it up.
That's crazy. I was flashing this photo of it just because I don't want to, got to make sure that don't get copyrighted since that is a Hollywood production. But that is crazy, y'all. I think the craziest part of it, I mean, obviously with the guy's name being Charlie Kirkland, I mean, how much more obvious does it get than that? Than that? But it says the Atlantic City executioner, Tyler, September 10th. That is insane. Y'all remember the book that predicted 2020? It had the year exact in that book. This movie has the name and the date exact, y'all. That is actually insane. Somebody said executioner Tyler is wild. Somebody said, so we are in a matrix. Nah, like, okay, now this is insane. Nah, bro. This is actually crazy. When I saw this,
I was like,
this is insane. And I'm new to this. If some of y'all never seen this, I just got up on this last night. I was up, doing what I do, preparing for this morning's video, and this is insane, y'all. So, y'all kind of give my live reaction. This is crazy. Executioner Tyler is out of this world.
The fuck out the country, because something just doesn't add up. Because her ministry is linked with too many children going missing. So now I swear, go on TikTok, go on Twitter right now, search Erica Kirk. That's all you'll see. Everyone is talking about how the fuck she was 17. She won a beauty pageant under Trump's agency. And then right after she won the beauty pageant, she went to Romania, started working with children. Children started going missing, and the Romanian government kicked her out.
Now, this was the first video I heard. When I heard this picture is insane. Like, now that you get close up on it, it's like, what is Trump doing? You could definitely tell there's way more history between those two.
Yeah, man, they done all kind of seditious stuff to the.
I mean, it just,
and they 6 on that boy. To say them,
this is insane, because I saw somewhere else where
she played them.
They said she wasn't actually like a pageant model or anything, that she was just placed into it and ended up winning it.
She got a letter in the mail that told her she should try this and sign up. She had never been part of no pageants. She never tried any beauty contests, nothing. Her family just had ties to Israeli security firms and things of that nature and helping Israel. Next thing you know, she won Miss Arizona and was part of Trump's pageants. Then her and Charlie just fell in love.
That was, I think, Miss Arizona. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw that where some people was going back and forth about it, that she wasn't actually, you know, a model or anything, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's continue listening to some of this stuff.
She did win. I seen her she won. She was on the news talking about what she was giving away as she was Miss Arizona, whatever the hell she was talking about. That lady did win that with the help of Trump and the Jewish billionaires who sicked her on poor little Charlie, who thought he was going to be a.
Because it's very interesting. This next one, she goes into more detail about the whole Erica Kirk and, you know, the Romanian thing, right? Check this out, y'all.
If you've heard the rumors that Erica trafficked children in Romania, here's the lowdown. Harvest Christian Fellowship. There was a former pastor accused of SA and trafficking. Lawsuits have alleged forced labor and negligence. I don't know how you pronounce this name, but this was a gang that was forcing Roma children to beg for money in London. Ringleaders were arrested after police uncovered this ring. Having said all of that, none of those were Erica's nonprofit. There is no direct evidence linking Erica to child trafficking in Romania. There's also no direct evidence of the reason that her nonprofit closed, and there's very little record of what their nonprofit did. There's an article in Arizona Foothills from 2024 that discussed the organization running a children's wish list in Romania for Christmas. To be clear, I am not saying that she did, and I am not saying that she didn't. This is just a summary of the information available for information purposes only. As I was researching this topic, I came across this article. In it, there's a discussion about the Stalinist leader who ruled one of Eastern Europe's most repressive regimes. It came crashing down in 1989, along with all the other Soviet bloc nations. This leader had instituted one of the most radical and repressive policies in an effort to stimulate birth rates. This included outlawing abortions for any women under 40 who had less than 4 children. Now, this did trigger a baby boom, but many of the children who were born ultimately ended up in state-run orphanages. After the fall of communism, the West got a look at what was going on in these state-run orphanages and was shocked and appalled by the images of children living in squalid conditions. So here we have yet another regime, another example of an authoritarian leader trying to control birth rates and banning abortions without an understanding of what that does and what that means. And again, women and children suffered. Banning abortions is not what people think. If we want to reduce the number of abortions performed, there are clear and well-documented steps that we can take to ensure that there are as few abortions.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, so
you get to the, you see, it all become a Democrat talking point. She want more banned children. Scandalous ass witch.
So some of the comments, where's the comment I was looking for? I did see something about this as well. Y'all let me know if this is true. Charlie Kirk's dad helped build the Trump Tower. That would make sense.
Yes, that's how, first of all, he met Trump. That's how Charlie Kirk's dad met Trump. He also helped Israel get their most the most advanced air defense system, the Iron Dome. His dad was in on that. But that's how that they introduced him to Trump as a young man.
And it would almost seem like Erica
Trump
was placed in his life as a handler.
We got a plan for you.
That's what this would make me, lean toward. Says the Epstein files is bigger than we know. That's why so many people have been knocked off. Somebody said, I looked it up right after CK got shot, and it said Romania Angels was involved and was asked to leave Romania. No criminal charges were filed. I looked it up again on Monday, and it was gone. This is crazy. It is well known why Americans adopted the children from Romania after 1989 under the mask of nonprofit organizations. That is crazy because it also makes me think about at that time when I was in high school, and for some reason where I lived, there were a bunch of Romanians. And at the time, I just, obviously, in high school, you don't really know nothing about what's going on. But I'm not saying they came from, like being adopted by other Americans, but it just, things start to kind of add up as you find out more information. But this is crazy, man. Somebody said Romania kicked her out to stop any connection. And the name of the group was Romania or Romanian Angels. Man, the story is just getting deeper and deeper by the day, damn near, y'all. And it's what, the 25th? We're now 15, we're 2 weeks after the shooting happened.
Erica Kirk has deep connections to Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and the State of Israel. The supposed grieving wife and mother is going to be taking over Turning Point USA. So here's some facts about her that I think the public has a right to know and that nobody else is reporting on. Around 2009 to 2010, even though Erica had never modeled before or participated in a beauty pageant, she received an invitation in the mail to participate in the Miss USA beauty pageants, which were owned by Donald Trump. In 2012, she won the Miss Arizona competition. And at the same time, according to her website, she was also a casting director at the same time she was modeling for Trump. In 2000,
This is where I saw it. This is where I saw it right here. That supposedly no kind of modeling experience, and she was just thrust into it.
she started a ministry when she was just 17 years old. This ministry was working with the U.S. military in Romania at the same time she claimed to be working as a casting director. The area in Romania where Erica was operating her ministry out of had a ton of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in Israel, the UK, and undisclosed private islands. The locals demanded that the authorities look into this, and shocker, they never did, but her ministry was kicked out of Romania. In 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump started working with Charlie Kirk, Erica and Charlie were introduced to one another after one of their mutual friends suggested that Charlie should hire her to work for Turning Point.
Oh shit! This one she became his handler, and it's called Israeli honeypot. They put the beauty pageant, young beauty pageant lady on him. He's a fucking geek nerd. This nigga ain't getting no goddamn women. They grooming him, building him up, telling him, okay, we're gonna get you a little trophy wife. Just setting his ass up to whack him.
So at Erica's job interview with Charlie, Erica allegedly said, "You're not gonna be my boss. You're gonna be my boyfriend." So they began dating.
No, Erica didn't say that. We watched the video yesterday, and Charlie said he said that. So we're gonna correct the record. Charlie, in the video, we watched it yesterday, he said he was interviewing her and he was talking to the daughter, her head. We couldn't see the face because they never show their kids. So whoever kid, the prop that was, he was talking to the little prop. He was saying he was interviewing mommy and mommy was Christ-like, and I laughed. When I look at this girl, how can I see Christ-like in her? I'm just gonna show you what type of scammer he is because he knew what he was saying on the video. And they plan, she's Christ-like to scam white people. who really believe that these people are Christian conservatives and evangelical Christians, all that nonsense. And he said, he told her, you're not going to work for me. We're going to date. And I said, he should be sued. You pervert, you in see, but that go to show you he got caught up in his lust for her. Her boobs probably was out. She probably had on a little skirt. Yes, that was the trap for him, and he fell for it.
I think it's safe to assume that this mutual friend was Donald Trump, because Erica was already one of his employees, so it would make sense for his team to encourage this. Beauty pageants are a well-known gateway for human trafficking. So with her being a casting director, her ministry working with the military in Romania and being asked to leave, along with her very strange behavior of capitalizing on the death of her husband, I think this should be of immense concern to us all. Random people do not get propped up by the mainstream media out of nowhere. That includes Charlie Kirk, whose father had deep connections to Donald Trump even before he started working with Charlie Kirk. All of these people that you see on TV run in the same circles, and anybody with ties to human trafficking should not be trusted. So comment below and let me know, did you know about...
This is actually insane. Why aren't the comments playing? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Damn, y'all. I'm actually glad we got to watch that video. That was one of my favorite ones. And it seems like TikTok has removed that video. So, very glad we got to watch that video, because I really wanted that to be in here. And I was wondering why I couldn't see the comments on the right-hand side. So I don't think she would have took it down. TikTok has already removed that video. That one went into the details a lot more than the other videos that I was waiting to play. So all the connections are there, from Trump all the way down to Erica being placed in Charlie Kirk's life. And it makes sense. It makes sense. When you have an agenda, when you have a plan, the world is a stage, all of that stuff is set up. You know, you could tell like by the way she's acting. I mean, you can watch reality, type of cases, where people give genuine
But
reaction.
they also was kidnapping them girls and raising them to later on putting it. They like little Manchurian, not like a Manchurian candidate, but they're not running for office. You see what I'm saying? They put like Epstein, they put Melania next to Trump. She comes from an ex-Soviet. Well, see, when the Soviet Empire, when the Soviet Union collapsed, they start getting out. It used to be called mail order brides. Rich Europeans, Americans, they buying blonde bimbos, living in poverty, and promising them a new life. That's all. They tell you Epstein was trafficking a lot of them from the ex-Soviet Union places, especially Ukraine. But then in Romania, it was even more devious what they was doing with you. See, a lot of these girls, they get raised. The next thing you know, they place them next to a fool like Charlie Kirk. But these girls have already been trained to do what they're supposed to do. They don't love you. They're already occultists. They're Freemasons. They're going to do exactly what they're supposed to do to you, and they're repeating every little thing. See, Israel never had to bug Charlie Kirk's life. Why? His wife was the human bug. She was reporting everything back to them. They knew everything.
Actions when they lose a loved one, and it's not what she gave us at all. Just like the girl said, when people are on the world stage, they're all connected. It's not like when they're just thrusted into, mainstream. We know there's been an agenda behind it for years. A lot of people had no idea who Charlie Kirk was. No idea. Same thing with the David situation. People had no idea who he was. And now the stuff with Erica Kirk is becoming deeper by the day, because we finding out that she has had ties to human trafficking. And we all know it's not just in the US where 1 million kids go missing per year. I mean, imagine how many go missing in these other countries as well, where they can take them undocumented, disguise it as certain organizations that are, made up to help kids, or even, like she said, pageants and stuff. say is a ground for trafficking. I mean, most things, why? And I think we've touched on that before. I forget what video it was, but you know, these pageants, you got to understand a lot of women, you know, parents, moms, they insert these kids into this kind of stuff at a very young age, you know, because they have beautiful little girls and they want them all dolled up, and it gives them a chance to get exposed to stuff and get the parents, you know, in that lifestyle, so on and so on. It's like a tradition for certain households. And it's definitely a grounds to where if you get caught up in the wrong hands, then boom, you know, even like all this stuff that be going around on the internet, um, where parents send in pictures of their kids for modeling gigs and you win a certain amount of money, all of that stuff is major trafficking grounds, like hubs for it, you know, they are recruiting. So it is definitely something to be um aware of. And I think this video was also just going into the Snake Eyes movie as well. We don't have to watch this one, but as far as the movie, it says, someone said, I like this comment. It's not a prediction. They use dark mysticism to control the collective manifestation. When something gets deep enough into the subconscious of enough people, it has no choice but to manifest into the shared reality. The Simpsons does it too, but they take it a step further using specific colors, shapes, and sounds that increase the effect. They don't predict, they implant ideas that eventually manifest when they get it into the consciousness of enough people. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. There are no coincidences. Yes, there is not. All right, y'all. We'll go ahead and wrap it up right here, man. Y'all
There's a lot of leaking going on right now, and I've been very clear that
It won't be long for Candace have to speak on Erica Kirk. I already checked out her comment section. They already bringing it up. They don't trust Erica Kirk, and Candace can play friends with Erica all she want. You said you look for the damn truth, and she gonna have to tell the truth. She gonna have to at least bring that information out and say it's not true and defend her. Her all of this, she control opposition towards Israel. She's not the real opposition, and this is going to prove it if she do, not on this one video right here, but later on, because there people are asking for her to address Erica Kirk situation that was coming to light.
everything in my soul has been screaming at me from the very moment that I found out that Charlie got shot, that this story is much bigger, that there just was something much bigger going on than what has thus far been presented to the public. You know, all of the wrong people are eulogizing him. They're lying about small things, which I don't like, because why lie about small things? Only a guilty conscience of sorts lies about little things. And there are a few points that we have covered throughout the story that right away jumped out at me as odd. First and foremost, of course, Bibi Netanyahu over-inserting himself, not even just on day one, minute one. He tweeted before the president of the United States that Charlie had lost his life. That's weird. It's very weird, and we should not forget how weird that is, especially because when he went on multiple hits doing Fox News and Greta Van Sustern's show, he lied about the contents of a letter that Charlie Kirk had written him back in May. What I also don't like are the people like Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon, people that I know who are very nasty and work behind the scenes. I don't like that they have not yet been honest or forthcoming about the pressure that they and others were putting on Charlie Kirk. That just strikes me as odd. There's no reason to lie. No reason to pretend that you weren't doing that, to try to massage it and lie about it. I believe that there are lies by omission, and I view them both to be liars, okay? And of course, who could forget the word length of Bill Ackman's reply? I tell you guys about this weekend in the Hamptons. I tell you about Bibi Netanyahu calling Charlie Kirk and inviting him to Israel. And Bill Ackman replies with an essay, college essay, 959 words to be precise, was his response to me speaking about that, where he himself did not actually address my point about the quote unquote intervention, which is how Charlie described it himself, and my point about Bibi Netanyahu and the offer to take Turning Point to the next level financially. No one wants to address those points because I was being honest. People thought that Charlie's ideas were trending in the wrong direction. And by the way, regarding that now infamous weekend, the response videos that were made, which seemed like there was some sort of a PR crisis going on, the response tweets that were fashioned, they were sort of getting funny.
I want y'all to remember, all of this Charlie Kirk started to go in the wrong direction. It's all a play. But you know it. They were going to kill him September the 10th, regardless, like the movie Snake Eyes said. September the 10th, Mr. Charlie Kirk was gone, regardless. So all of this is a play. You see? We have to dig deeper. Actually, but her bullshit. We need the information, but her bullshit. Acting like, well, okay, he was being pressured. Why Erica Kirk don't come out and say that, Candace? Why don't you ask Erica Kirk to talk? Keep pointing back at BB. What about Erica Kirk? But he didn't get whacked because he started to turn on Israel. All of that is a ploy. He got whacked because they pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered because he was supposed to go. It all was a setup from the very beginning. And her story, people gonna start looking deep into her when she said how she met her husband. I believe her husband is her handler also. How her and Charlie, she just had a feeling that people may not believe her. I don't. That she just had to go to Britain, England for some reason. Maybe they need to go open up a Turning Point, Britain. Charlie always wanted to do that. She told Charlie, I'm gonna buy some plane tickets. She used his credit card. She had his credit card. Used his credit card and bought the tickets. He said, "Yay, let's go." And while they was there, she met her husband. Man, get the fuck out of here.
Xavier DeRusso was there. I had reached out to him. He had, rather than answering me, messaged me to say, I am speaking out about that weekend. He made a video where he formally addressed the weekend and explained that, yes, Charlie, and he uses the phrase moral blackmail. Charlie spoke about feeling morally blackmailed, but this was done in more of a workshop setting, essentially like it was a debate club, and they were strengthening their debates on the topic of Israel. We can take a listen to Xavier DeRusso in his own words.
And then people are taking things out of context because there was in the article, the hit piece that came out, it talks about how Charlie raised up his phone and had written on Twitter, and he said something like, BB needs to resign or something like that. And he goes, what would happen if I do this? There was discourse, and then there was one woman who sat in the back who said, if you do that, you're indirectly going to empower Hamas. And then Charlie...
Look at this shit, bro. See, this type of motherfucker that Charlie and them keep around to laugh at black people, mock them, have a look. You know what I'm saying? Have a film guy like this around, you know, who remember, they crashed Grindr. Never forget that. At the Charlie Kirk Memorial, so many closeted homosexual white Republicans were there that it crashed Grindr. They was in the same area. So it don't, you know, they keep them fun boy like this around to do whatever they want with, and he'll enjoy it. Now he's the one speaking up on what was going on in the room that day. So when they wasn't fucking around with one another, when they had time to try to get some political work done.
Charlie was like, so you have to stop saying like that. He was saying that when you are debating about Israel, you need to stop doing it emotionally. You need to do it logically and factually. Otherwise, you lose the debate. He said it is moral blackmail if you say that somebody saying that a politician is bad, that you're then empowering a terrorist organization. Fair argument.
It was a fair argument, but it also was a real argument. And you kind of removed the names that were involved in this conversation. Natasha Hausdorff was there. Seth Dillon was there. And Seth Dillon was the one that was applying pressure to him. And Seth Dillon and Josh Hammer didn't jump on him in that moment. Were not happy. They were not happy with Charlie at the end of this weekend in the Hamptons because, again, they saw which way the wind was traveling in terms of his positions on Bibi Netanyahu and Israel. And they were, in fact, being accusatory. And again, you don't have to take it in my words or Xavier's words. I've always had a friendly relationship with Xavier, but we should listen to Charlie's own words, which we have played multiple times, of what happened the day after this little weekend retreat, where he vented to Megyn Kelly his frustrations with him being wrongly labeled anti-Semitic and how it was actually pushing him away and it wasn't good for Israel. Then, and that one of the big questions that we discovered, or that we asked, and something that we had discovered, was that this weekend was kept hush hush, which is extraordinarily unusual for a Turning Point event. If you're going to fly your influencers out, you want them to influence, obviously. And Xavier offered this explanation for why they didn't post about the weekend until they were rumbled about the weekend. Take a listen.
And then you have the people who are trying to go and say that, oh, then why was the meeting so secretive? The photos were already on my Instagram. The reason we didn't post that in the real time was because of safety. Do you know how many people would have loved to come and slaughter that whole hotel?
Feeling like Justin Bieber, because it's not clocking for me. Like, I'm sorry. So first off, you guys never connected to Turning Point USA publicly. The photos that you posted, if you posted it after the event, I don't think that it's because you were fearful that just being a conservative in the Hamptons was going to get you slaughtered, like were there Hamas tunnels under the Hamptons? That doesn't make sense. That makes entirely no sense. And we should call out how little sense that makes, especially because one of the influencers did post on August 6th that she was in the Hamptons. Actually, Emily loves America. Emily saves America, pardon me, said when she was fighting with somebody about how little their engagement ring was during this weekend, how do you guys expect to have a house, land, and multiple kids? Be for real. Sorry, I'm MIA. I'm in the Hamptons. So are conservatives not allowed to be in the Hamptons without getting slaughtered? Or is it specifically conservative influencers? You said that it wasn't a pro-Israel event, so I guess there's no Israel angle here, which does, of course, there's tons of Zionists in the Hamptons, the Lackman among them. So I don't understand. You couldn't post that you were in the Hamptons because you were going to get killed. How? I need more information there, because that's just silly. And I also love the context of him doing this on PragerU's platform. I obviously worked for PragerU. I know Marissa Straight. I am looking at Marissa Straight right there, a little PR operation to address the points without actually addressing the points and to make it seem like it was nothing. And that's not the reality. You know, Marissa has always been open about the fact that she worked for the IDF intelligence. And like I said, you could sense there was a PR panic when people started speaking about the weekend. I told you guys the truth. That's it. Okay. I don't like the fact that Charlie was literally facing financial threats over his speech, the thing that mattered most to him. Right? Fighting for free speech, even if you disagreed with somebody, you got to make sure that they have a right to express their viewpoints. And what happened to me a year earlier seemed to be happening to him 1 year later. Another thing that I really do not like, and it is bothering me and is eating at me, is the fact that Turning Point will not release the footage. Okay. I don't understand it. Every excuse that I have been handed for why they won't release it makes no sense to me. If you are under pressure, if people are starting to look at you funny as an organization, if they're thinking that, whether rightfully or wrongfully, if they are suspecting because they see this footage of someone quickly remove the SD cards, that you guys had something to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you quite literally have footage that in theory should vindicate yourself, why wouldn't you release it? Think about that. It's just in your own capacity. If somebody is saying you are guilty of anything, if they're like, Candace, you are absolutely guilty of breaking into my car. And I'm like, I have a camera right here that shows that I did not break into your car. Would it make sense if I was like, but I'm not going to release that? I'm not going to release that. Because it's not right. It's not right for me to release. What? It makes no sense. I don't understand why they would not release this. The idea that it's because, well, the feds are saying the feds cannot arrest you. Last I checked, the feds cannot bring charges against you for releasing footage that you own. And since when do we trust the feds? Certainly Charlie didn't. He didn't believe we were getting the truth about the Epstein files and things of that nature. So I don't accept that. That said, I also want to be clear that it doesn't mean that every single person that is continuing on in the organization is guilty of murder. I mean, I think we want answers, but we shouldn't be like, this person's definitely a murderer because they're not providing the answers. I've been speaking and I've been seeing a lot of vitriol that's been thrown at Andrew Colvette's way because he is doing press. He is carrying on Charlie Kirk's show. He was already seated on Charlie Kirk's show. He was already there. And I was being genuine when I said, he's under a lot of pressure. There's no question. He's the spokesperson for Turning Point USA, and he's grieving somebody that he knows and who was a very close, if not one of his best friends. He saw every day doing the Charlie Kirk show, and he's still got to deal with the same donors that Charlie was dealing with. I mean, it's a lot going on, and until we have all the facts in front of us, until we actually see the footage, I think we should be careful in just thinking that everybody is guilty of something. I want you guys to also, though, be conscious of the lies that we are being told by the federal government, because that feels extremely guilty to me. We haven't received any updates whatsoever on the raid that took place of Lance's house where Tyler Robinson was living at the time of this crime. No update whatsoever on Lance. He just completely fell to the wayside. So forget it. Forget asking any questions about Lance. And my instinct has always been that the feds injected themselves immediately into this case because they were staging a cover-up. And now I feel as though we can almost establish that as a fact when I tell you something else that happened here, my next point. So as you know, I have been positively obsessed with who killed Charlie Kirk because he was my friend. He was actually my friend. Everyone else who can eulogize all they want. Some of it felt a little cheap and fake and gay. But for me, this is real. So I had been hunting down all of the videos, all of the footage, and wanted to go back to ground zero, as we did yesterday, of the initial videos that went viral on social media and on X on the day that Charlie was assassinated. And
that's why she said, and gay. She know that there's a gay love fest going on. She's not going to cover the Grindr crashing during their convention because all of them was on the gay Grindr app. But that was a little dig at them.
Occurred to me that I forgot about one video. Actually, the only video that exists of the shooter sprinting across the rooftop a mere seconds after the shot was fired. Now, you probably recall that video in the back of your mind. You remember that video that was going viral of him seen running across the roof. Well, I'm about to show it to you in a much clearer quality than you have ever seen it, a higher quality than you have ever seen that video. Remember, before I show it to you, just to tee this up, it is just a couple of seconds after the sound of a shot rang out. Let's watch this together. And we're going to just cover that. It kind of looks like he's got something trailing behind him too. Maybe that's the towel that we've been told about. We can play that again as you watch this. Now let me tell you how I tracked down this footage. It took me all of 2 hours to track down this footage, to get the name of the person who had filmed the footage. And from there, after messaging someone on Twitter, they said, I got the footage from this person. This is the person that shot it. And he's willing to speak to you. I get in touch with this individual. Okay. Very quickly. It was all transpired in a couple of hours. And you will never guess what it is that he told me. He told me that neither the feds nor the local police had ever reached out to him. Never. I'm sorry, what? You have one of two people who have a recording of the shooter at all, right? At all. And the feds were simply not interested, as they were executing this manhunt, of reaching out to the individual who had footage of him running across the roof. How could that be? Why? Why would that be? Somebody explain to me, make it make sense for me. Maybe in the fog and the chaos, sure. But at no point did they go, hey, I see this really grainy image that's gone viral on Twitter. Maybe I should reach out to the person that made it go viral and see if I can track down that person so I can get clear data, meaning the metadata that exists, which will tell you the exact second that the person was running, to make sure it lines up with my federal timeline that I must be creating. If little old Candace is doing it, then I'm sure the feds at the top are definitely creating a second-by-second timeline just like I am. But no, they never reached out to him. Now I'll tell you what else I discovered, because A lot is going on. And we similarly, by the way, reached out to the person who shot the footage and said somebody is on the roof. We spoke about that earlier this week. He told us the exact same thing. He says he walked in and gave the footage to the Orem Police Department. Okay. Nobody, and they said, we were overwhelmed on that day one, which makes sense. Everybody contacting, calling, someone says, I have this. So it makes sense that he would be on the offense and getting them the footage. But the feds never reached out to him until the 15th. After Governor Cox said the investigation was over and they had the guy, the feds reached out to him and said, hey, you're the one who shot that footage. Yeah. Did you make a police report? He said, yeah, I did. And, oh, really? We didn't know that. What do you mean you didn't know that? That this is the first time the federal government on the 15th decided to reach out to the other person who saw the person climbing the roof? I saw the person getting into the shooting position. You never reached out to him until September 15th? Yeah, my friends, that looks to me like a cover-up. Not like you're trying to get to the bottom of something. Not with the amount of money that the feds have. You can't tell me that they did not reach out to these two individuals. It makes entirely no sense. There's another piece of this that is getting quite interesting. And I will say that this next piece that I have is in large part thanks to a multitude of leaks that are coming out of Turning Point USA. Now, right away, you might ask, why is that happening? Well, I can tell you in my experience, political organizations sometimes don't recognize that they are not like corporate organizations. And what I mean by that is not whether or not the organization is a corporate, but rather sometimes they get the wrong idea that they can sort of do things that people can do on Wall Street, right? Like if a CEO steps down from Wendy's, you can just replace that person as another CEO and nobody cares. If you're buying chicken nuggets from Wendy's, you don't really care who the CEO is. Doesn't really work like that with political organizations, right? When it comes to politics, people get behind someone because they believe in that individual's ideas, right? You can't just play a swapsy all the time or think it's just going to go on and you're still going to have that same energy behind you. And so obviously this is a terrible situation and Charlie is gone. But with people not getting answers, right? With people that are working at Turning Point USA not feeling like, okay, are we as an organization fighting? Are we going to speak about the things that Charlie cared about? Are we going to call out the things that we feel are wrong here? They're not wanting to get behind that. They feel that the organization is now being motivated just by money and that this company's priorities have somewhat shifted and that really how people on the outside that are looking in are going, what's going on here? Why are people not more rattled by the lies that are being told? Actually, I think if Charlie were here, he'd be talking about the weird things that were being told about this story, right? Ironically. And so many people have reached out and they spoke about the finances at Turning Point USA. And, I'm not exactly a forensic accountant, but I know that other journalists got really interested in this angle who were similarly receiving leaks and have pushed this off to forensic accountants. And some of the stuff is getting very interesting. But I did want to show you guys this because I think this proves what we have been hearing. It's at least a starting point. An insider who said that they were there and present when Charlie had expressed some concerns about where the money was going. And leading up to that moment, Charlie had by and large completely removed himself outside of the organ of fundraising, which is to say that it wasn't something that he necessarily had his finger on. Of course, he always would show up for top donor meetings. He is the face of the company. But in terms of the accounting specifics, he trusted his lieutenants. Of course, something that big, you're clearing $100 million a year, you got to have lieutenants and you have to trust those lieutenants. And of course, sometimes those leaders don't like one another. That's all normal. But then there arrived a moment when Charlie felt that the money was disappearing. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly here, but I think we have some proof that shows that. And the excuses that he was being given for the money disappearing wasn't adding up for Charlie. Said another way, the math wasn't mathing, okay? He felt that, again, according to sources, that the company was burning through cash too quickly. And Charlie set about finding out why and how this was happening. So on September 2nd, which is, of course, just 1 week before he lost his life, Charlie surprised the company by announcing that he was putting together a Doge department. Yes, a Department of Government Efficiency like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy had set out to do. Trump won. They got behind him, right? They said, hey, there's a lot of pork. We don't know where this money is going. People are just accepting checks. Again, this is the whole purpose of the Department of Doge. You put us in there and we're going to figure out how all of these bureaucrats are just wasting tax dollars. Really kind of a nice way of saying we're going to conduct an audit of the government, right? That's the only way to look at what Doge was. It's an audit, and then you cut the fat and you see where the money's actually going. Don't listen to me, by the way, because we can read Charlie in his own words. This was a internal memo that went out, signed off by Charlie on September 2nd. I'm going to skip to the relevant portions. He's first and foremost announcing that Dear Team America, effective immediately. Again, September 2nd, Justin Strife is taking on a new elevated role with Turning Point USA as its COO. Since joining TPUSA in 2020, Justin has led Turning Point's fundraising division and in more recent years has been involved in some organizational operations, filling the COO role in many ways, but now officially taking on the title and expanded responsibilities. Now we're going to jump to that last big paragraph. He writes, in this role, I have empowered Justin, among other priorities, to engage in an organizational-wide Doge effort. Justin will be assembling a small team to assist in this effort, which is focused on Turning Point USA, 1, becoming more efficient, 2, becoming more cost-effective, 3, unifying organizational success around company-wide metrics and goals, and 4, reshaping company culture. I expect many positive changes to come from this forthcoming initiative and Justin's expanded role. Please join me in congratulating Justin on this new role with the organization. So I felt that with all of the rumors that I'm hearing, to see that Charlie was essentially putting together a small team to begin looking at money and ways to be more quote unquote efficient, it's looking like that's relevant, that all of these tips that we are receiving from insiders is accurate. And what we're understanding is that there were a lot of contractors and people essentially who were taking money both ways, who were bringing in money and cutting deals. Said simply, the money was looking funny, okay? And Charlie set out to determine why, which means that others should maybe set out to determine why. Is this department still going? And like I said to you, others are setting out to determine why. There are journalists, forensic accountants that have been hired, and what I have been shown, the preliminary findings are quite astonishing, okay? And I will say this, my sources at Turning Point said something that I found to be crucial, interesting. They said that Charlie wasn't just concerned about where the money was going, but also where the money was coming from. Where the money was coming from. What are we to make of that? Okay. What are we to make of that? What does that mean? Either speaking about companies that were kind of flooding the zone with money so that they could have more influence, but they had questions about those companies. It sounds like there were people who were effectively double agents making money on commissions on both sides of a contract. I've seen a lot, and I'm going to allow the reports to come out next week that people who have really seized upon that and are looking at things. And I think a lot's going to be revealed, like I said, as it should. We want to know everything. We want to know absolutely everything. I'm going to tell you guys a bit more, as well as responding to a lot of what I think are just unfair criticisms of people that are attacking Erica. And I'll tell you why I feel that those criticisms are unfair. But first, I want to throw it to Riverbend Ranch. I told you I met the CEO of this company when I was with Charlie years ago, and we went out to meet him. Wonderful person. Everyone wanted to do something to try and heal. Remember Charlie, and my friends at Riverbend Ranch put together the following tribute to honor him.
We pay tribute to Charlie Kirk, and we celebrate the tremendous good he did in his life. Charlie courageously advocated for the sacred principles of freedom, constructive discourse, truth, family values, and common sense. He taught with humor and wisdom, and backed up his beliefs with data and facts. He set a powerful example of reaching out and talking to those who disagreed with him. We mourn his passing, but what he taught us continues to resonate with even more power.
A message from all of us at Riverbend Ranch.
Also want to tell you guys about PDS debt, because the system is not broken. It's actually rigged. And if you're buried in debt, that's exactly how they want it. Big banks profit when you're desperate. Creditors win when you lose. We don't have to play their game. PDSdebt.com/Candace. The video was just absolutely viral. It's got 6 million views. And by the way, I am so happy that it's got 6 million views. Everybody investigating this is exactly what we need. And nobody is going to be perfect. We're going to get things wrong. And we can only work with the information that's been given to us. And for whatever reason, it's very limited. So every time anything that I'm debunking here is just because I want to help focus his investigation. But so he presents an argument that you can see a muzzle flash. And there is one element of his video where he shows what he believes to be blood splatter as an entry point on Charlie's neck. So we can watch that, take a listen.
And in that video, you can see the same, what appears to be the bullet coming down, and it does line up with the actual gunshot itself. So you're not counting gang violence. Great.
So this video was created by a friend of mine who is a Marine. You'll see him here at the end. This is the angle he is showing the shot coming from, showing where Charlie was sitting and the angle of the shot, which will correspond with this video here, which unfortunately we will blur out Charlie's face, but we will show what is necessary to prove that this was an entry and exit wound. So you'll see him circle the highlighted area right there, and you'll see the exit wound corresponding after, a split second after, as it would from an entry and exit wound. So in this footage, you can clearly see that Charlie is shot from his back right, and there's blood splatter coming out of the entry wound.
Okay. So what I can immediately help with, because I have so much footage and clearer footage of that, is that's actually not blood splatter. And I was very surprised by this. It's his necklace. That is his necklace. And it was one of the things that struck me as odd. And I saw the back footage, and then I have clear footage from the front. And the necklace goes first. And if I'm looking at it, it looks like it breaks from here, and then it comes up and it whips up. That is Charlie's necklace chain. So I hope that sort of helps focus that. And I don't know if that helps change your opinion at all, but I wanted to add that. The second thing is I wanted to show you a photo, a different angle of where that flash that he is looking at came from, because the thing that I don't understand is that particular window doesn't open. So if you're saying it's inside, and I might be wrong, so you can see, and I hope I have this right. If I'm wrong, please let me know, and I will adjust it immediately. But that window is from that zone, which they call like the flag hall, which is where that person actually shot the footage. He's on the other side of it, where we saw the person running across the roof. That's basically above the underpass. And so you can see from this angle that those windows, I don't know if we have a more forward picture of that, Skylar. If we don't, it's okay. But from everything that I could see, those windows don't open. So if it's coming from inside, if that's where you're saying, and I had that location correctly, again, I'm happy to update this if I'm wrong, then we should see broken glass. So let me know if I'm right about that. I will say there was another piece, and this part I have not been able to debunk, but I am sending someone there to get me similar footage, which is when you discuss a suspicious looking bush. So I will let Range Day Bro present that theory. Take a listen.
I want to take a look at this photo next. This guy's talking about this bush up here in the top left of this photo, and he zooms in on it, and he's stating that it does look suspicious. It does look suspicious. It looks like there is a person right here, and it looks like there is a rifle right here that the person is holding, a hand here, support hand, sort of very blurry image, but you can clearly make out this is not just a bush. This is a human skin tone right here, and this correlates with human head and hair, and a rifle in the exact kind of crucifix shape of an AR-15 with an optic on it mounted up.
So what I can say, and I'm looking at my minute-to-minute text messages because I sent somebody there on the ground to get me pictures of that bush today, and I agree with you. In the smaller, in the photos that I'm looking at today, the bush, you can kind of see through it. And in the image that you have, granted, it is grainy. It doesn't seem like you can see through it. So I am interested in that, and I am prodding that narrative, and I will let you know what I come up with. Anyways, again, the point of me doing that was just to help further direct your theories. Everybody is coming out with ideas, and I think that's great. Until the feds answer our questions, until we see more footage of what took place that day, all of us need to stay on top of it because we all sense that something is very wrong and we are not getting the truth. One more thing that I'd like to share with you guys, you will recall yesterday during the comment section, we got a tip, a young woman that said that that doorbell footage was intentionally presented to the public only partially. And that the reality is that there was more footage which showed the person that they allege is Tyler Robinson walking with a woman who they don't know who that is, and that he changes clothes. So I'm not sure if there was more footage on the side of the house. There's another angle, but there was allegedly footage of Tyler changing clothes, and he is with an unidentified woman. What I will say is I have established connection with that individual, and it's a solid lead, and it's only going to get more interesting in terms of who is involved in that cover-up locally, like a Utah person involved in that cover-up, which is another piece of this puzzle that I find to be fascinating. I will have more for you guys next week as we continue this. I always want to make sure that we give people an opportunity to respond and to answer what it is that we are putting out there and making sure that our reports are accurate. And I will have more for you on that next week. I do also want to address people who are inundating me speaking about Erica Kirk. And I think the reason why this was catalyzed was because of a fundraising email and text messages went out, and people found it to be distasteful and like a fundraising off of his death. Okay, first and foremost, the reason why I said, and I meant it genuinely, was to pray for Erica a couple of days ago. And I said she is stepping into a role as CEO and the chairman of a company that got bigger than Charlie by everything that I am understanding, and just having been there, I saw it happening, and a company that she's going to have to learn in 4 seconds how this whole thing's where it is a machine. Okay. Those emails that you saw or checked, that was not written by Erica Kirk. That will be an entire department. And these are emails when you fundraise. I've had fundraising emails go out with my face and my name on them. They are not authored by Erica Kirk. And I want you guys to know that, right? I just think it's like, I don't know, it just feels so unfair to me to assign the amount of pressure that is on her right now. She has not come out and said anything to me that makes her suspicious, because I understand how that organ works. And I understand how people, when they are motivated by money, how they don't even think about these things. It can be so gross. I mean, I have really gotten into arguments with people when I felt that they were using my face and representing things, and I was getting pushback from the public. And I'm like, I would have never done this. I would have never made that decision. And yet I'm going to be the person that gets all the flack for the decision that you made. I've had those arguments. And so when I see this go out, irrespective of how you feel, you should know that those decisions are not made by Erica. That's what it means to step into a company of that size and that scale. Okay. Their focus is going to be something different. And she has had, I think, a tremendous amount of grace in the speech that she gave, which I felt was very inspiring. And we should similarly have grace, give her time to get her, first and foremost, the adjustment in her life. She is a mother, first and foremost, right? This is what she was doing. She was a mom, and Charlie was on the road, and these were Charlie's concerns. You know, men carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they were following that. This was a faithful couple. This is a woman who consulted a priest and prayed when she felt that somebody had put a hex on her husband. And I just think everyone is being a little unfair by trying to assign so much ill will towards someone who hasn't done anything to warrant that. And I would have been the first person. If I felt that anything was there, I would have said something. Truly, in every capacity. And of course, I'm not in their marriage, but I know that Charlie was very happy with Erica. And I know that Erica was
See, Erica worked for Israel and was his handler, ma'am. Eric, why you not bringing it up? Erica's ties to him, to Israel, and her ties to child trafficking, allegedly, what everybody's bringing up. See, Candace doing herself no favors. They talking about it in her comment section. She got to be real with the people. Nobody's gonna believe this act. She's trying to get to the bottom of it. You're gonna have to ask some questions about Erica Kirk.
Reason she was, pushing Charlie, as women do, to really think through his ideas and think through what it was that he believed in one way or the other. And by and large, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I had this relationship that I had with Charlie, that I had with Erica, of course, because neither he or I were married when we were hitting the road together. But She made him happy. And
please,
I
you
just
want to be with Charlie. You want to be with Charlie. They say, nah, they got other plans for her. They got other plans for him, other plans for her. See, Charlie's with her. Remember, she said she just had to go to the UK for some reason. She swiped Charlie's credit card. And they went and she met her husband. Whatever. This lady wished she was with Charlie. You know, she thought she would be the first lady. But now, well, I'm not Erica, so I'm not in a relationship. We know you're not. We know you're not in a relationship.
I just want you guys to know that. And so when you're putting stuff out there, just imagine that you're in her shoes. Imagine the size and the scale of that company. And imagine that on top of everything, you've got people that are digging into every layer of your life and not necessarily getting everything right. I can't stop reading conspiracies about me and my husband. I've read that my husband is Jewish. I've read that my husband is a Freemason. I read that our marriage is fake and staged. And I've read that I'm funded by Russia. I'm funded by Qatar. I'm funded by Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate is also from the UK. And my husband knew him before he met me, which means absolutely nothing. I mean, it never stops. And to be thrown into fame, I think, is very difficult when you're not pursuing it yourself, and to be thrown in such a horrific way, it just can't be fun. So I'm just reminding us.
First of all, she was already on before she met that clown Charlie. She already was a millionaire through her family, and she had already had several businesses before she met that nobody Charlie, who he was getting groomed by his billionaire 80-year-old lover. He wasn't nothing but a boy toy. So please, now we know she didn't need that sucker. She knew what they were gonna do to him. It was all a plot to begin with. But for her not to tell the truth, everybody else, lady, the internet is speaking on Erica Kirk now and her ties to human trafficking in Romania. You can't get away from that. That ain't no conspiracy. See, she talk about Israel. Well, let's talk about Erica's father helping Israel build their most potent air defense system. It's crap, but when they talk about all the time, Iron Dome. It's a coincidence her father worked on the Iron Dome? It's a coincidence her father worked on Trump Tower? New Trump? Come on, man. Get out of here, lady. They set the boy up. And you won't point at everybody but them.
Us all to just have a little bit of grace is all. Anyways, you guys, before I get into more of your comments, I'm going to tell you about Just Thrive, because the biggest health secret that is not talked about is that everything starts in your gut. Every day, your gut. It's just such a crazy thing to make me guilty of investigating Charlie's murder. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you investigate this? Because everybody's lying and we're not going to allow it. How about that? How about we're just not going to allow everyone to lie? Curated Journey writes, thank you, Candace, for the work that you have put into telling us the truth. How do you deal with all these people that are trying to lie about the friendship that you have with Charlie? And do
Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for all the comments to start off this morning. And this is the second shooter blues. I got the second shooter blues, right? I mean, I'm talking about I got the second shooter. I'm talking about I got the second shooter blues, right? So we all agree that there's a second shooter, right? Or the first shooter is to the right, however you want to say it. And you can see in my graphic that I did for this morning, we are talking about the second shooter blues. We all agree. And we have folks in Memphis totally changing their soul portfolios, their song portfolios, to changing it over to everything second shooter blues. There's no songs anymore in our American blues culture about anything other than second shooter blues, because what they're all singing about, what all these blues artists are singing about, is how we all agree, and we're so infinitesimally close to each other on agreement, yet we're so far from going after the team. So while we're doing the second shooter blues, and then we have the magic bullet too. While we're doing the second shooter blues, what's happening? The team is getting away. We're not focusing on the team. We're not focusing on the Discord messages. We're not focusing on armed queers. We're not focusing on Uncle Mikey. We're not focusing on the cadet program. We're not focusing on the Azov Brigade. We're not focusing on any of the people who wanted to see Charlie dead. We're not focusing on Cue Bono. We're not focusing on means, method, opportunity. We're not doing any of the things that we should be doing as investigators because we're so involved in doing this, what I call the second shooter blues, right? Here they all are. Here's all of our folks. And we're all about an inch away from each other in saying the shot came from the right. The exploding microphone. Again, if I have the bullet coming out like this and it's being stretched by the bullet, the skin is being stretched, you pray for stuff like that. You pray that you'll get a frame in a video that will show you exactly where the bullet is coming out, right? Where the bullet's about ready to make an exit wound. It doesn't shoot up, right? So the microphone thing, because of the shock wave, the shirt comes up because the air with the energy being released from the bullet comes through. The bullet has energy, just like when a train goes by you and you feel the big rush of air go by you. The same thing is true with the bullet. So the shirt goes up, but you don't get that kind of incredible metadata normally. And yet we're arguing over it. And now this crazy exploding microphone. They may have an exploding microphone just to get people to argue, which is fine. Go ahead and argue. But the thing is, while we're doing that, the team is getting away. The shooting team is getting away. Let's just all agree that there is a second shooter, okay? Or that Tyler Robinson isn't the shooter. Therefore, he's a distraction. Therefore, that's a team. He's a planned distraction. He's a planned white rabbit. He's a planned distraction. So we all can agree that it's a team. It's no longer a sole shooter. It's no longer Tyler Robinson, right? I doubt Tyler Robinson was able. Tyler's hearing's coming up, and you see me on the road. I'm in Super 8. I got terrible internet here. Try to save a little money by going to Super 8. Don't ever do that. Anyway. So I'm getting through all the comments here, and I'm sorry I can't go through them all. But what I wanted to do was just show you the Substack from yesterday. Again, I just wanted to kind of take a step back and gain perspective here a little bit. If we all are arguing amongst ourselves, right, about the second shooter, we're all in violent agreement, right? Really violent agreement. And this is a violent topic to be in violent agreement upon. But the thing that's being lost in this is the crime board. The thing that's being lost is means, motive. Uncle Mikey, the Azov Brigade, the Israel background. So people are talking about Shilman and Zoa, which is the Zionist Organization of America, the plane flights, all the metadata associated. Everyone's just kind of forgetting that. So I want to go back to the great Aaron Adler, the person I do the show with, the Super Jew. So again, we're trying to get the team. We're trying to get to the arrest. We're not trying to say, I'm the smartest guy, right? This isn't about clicks. This isn't about who's the smartest guy, who's the smartest gal. It's about getting to the answers so that we don't have yet another crook situation that's left in suspended animation, that we don't have another Kennedy, JFK or RFK thing that's left in suspended animation. We want to get as much information out as we possibly can and put the pressure on the pressure points to get as much information out as we can. We don't want to be stillborn, right? And it seen amongst ourselves as just a bunch of people arguing amongst themselves about a second shooter while the second shooter gets away, while the team gets away. So this is what I'm saying here. And all the theories, if they're second shooter, I'm like, okay, great. Let's see if we can shave that hair even thinner. Let's see if we can shave it even thinner. No, wait, we can shave it even thinner. Let's spend all of our time concentrating on shaving this one hair that there's a second shooter, thinner and thinner and thinner, while the assassination team gets away. don't think that's the right move. I think we should be working on timeline. How did Tyler get back to St. George? I think we should be working about who else is in St. George. You saw the announcement from Kash Patel yesterday that where is he going to go to stop the drugs? Indian reservations, Navajo Indian reservations. What is he going to use to stop the drugs? Drones, of course, right? With Palantir Gotham, right? They're changing their story too. Who are they going to stop? ATF, rogue ATF that was left over, that still feel like their ox was gored because their drug running and gun running operation with Fast and Furious was interrupted. So what I'm going to do quickly, because you know, I am at the Super 8 and I am there and I am on the road, and I thought maybe if I move, I'll stay alive. And so that was the strategy. Maybe that wasn't the best strategy because I ended up with the bad internet. But just going back here really quickly to the Substack that I wrote. I've also written 2 additional Substacks on the old G Web, which is more the Gary Webb and Danny Casolaro stuff. But there's an angle to that because their dives into Iran-Contra and, you know, the anthrax and so forth is still happening today. It's just different groups. It's still ATF just moving it from state to state, right? It's still ATF that's running, you know, that ran Iran-Contra, right? They're just moving it. And of course, they dropped the OKC building in order to stop that investigation. And still ATF, you know, it's basically our federal agency that runs drugs and weapons. We saw it in Fast and Furious, and it's still happening today. Kash Patel finally addressed it with the Navajo Indian Reservation and Navajo Strong. The company that owns this plane also has this Soros-like NGO, Navajo Strong. So we're finally getting there. We're seeing the right moves. We're talking about discord. We're seeing the right moves in Washington, and now we've got all these competing theories, and we're all 1 inch away from each other, saying, no, it's 1 inch to the left. No, it's 1 inch to the right. No, it's 1 inch higher. No, it's 1 inch lower. Okay, that's all well and good. Can we all agree that we got to get through the second shooter blues and get on to the other parts of the investigation? So I'm going to go through the Substack super quick, and at least I think I am. Where is my Substack? Did I put? Oh, here it is. Okay, great. I'll throw it over here. So here's Tyler. Remember our group? We're there and waiting for the plane. Not me specifically waiting for the plane. But we have citizen journalists that are waiting for him to get back to St. George on September 10th. It's truly amazing, right? That truly probably changes Tyler's trip back to St. George, and he probably spends a night at the Navajo Indian Reservation when this plane flies to Page, Georgia, which is basically on the front door. Remember, they have the Navajo Strong sort of safe house. They have the Navajo Strong NGO. So there's Tyler flying on some multi-seat aircraft. For people who don't think that Tyler moves around on multi-seat aircraft, they're wrong. There's a picture of it. We don't know exactly when it is, but the glasses look similar to the glasses he wore during. So this doesn't look like that. It's probably a hunting trip. This is probably some kind of de Havilland otter. But again, it's in that same de Havilland family. So whoever the pilot is here likes Bombardier and likes de Havilland planes. Those are in the same family. Here's the big insight that they're having on the crime board today at the FBI crime board. They're saying, you know, we thought he left Provo in a Dodge Challenger. It turns out he left in a Bombardier Challenger. We had the Challenger part right. It just wasn't a car. It was the Bombardier going back to St. George. Now, there's a 2.5 hour and 13-minute trip where the transponder's completely off that happens after dark that nobody wants to talk about. It's sort of like Jackie Kennedy saying, I love the little kids along the parade route, you know. Well, Mrs. Kennedy, there was the thing about your husband getting his head blown off. Well, I don't really want to focus on that. Well, that's kind of the newsy thing that happened. Well, there was a lot of little kids along the way, and they were so cute, right? Well, I'm sorry, but the news value here is going to be, the story is going to be your husband getting his head blown off. The story is that late flight. The late flight is the story here, and it is the Bombardier Challenger. It's not the Dodge Challenger. Show me a picture of the Dodge Challenger on all the flock cameras in 3.5 hours going back to St. George. You won't see it. Not every student comes to listen. That's another key finding here. In going to all these places and trying not to die and staying in these different hotels, right? One thing that keeps coming back is this same kind of psychological operations that was happening on January 6th with Sullivan. He was Air Force. You remember Ashley Babbitt? She was Air Force. These Air Force psychological operations people. That's the repeating theme here is force psych ops. It seems like Air Force ROTC. It seems like a psychological operation. Right? Not saying that Charlie isn't killed. I am saying, though, that the impact of the psychological operation and the recruiting is the Air Force ROTC. Also Army ROTC. I don't want to leave that out. Also Navy ROTC is involved in Utah. I'm not saying that ATF hasn't glommed on to all of the ROTCs to do their school plays. They have. But this is the key here is not all students are coming and snipers, trained snipers are coming to hear Charlie. They're coming to kill Charlie. Not all the people are coming to hear Charlie. They're coming to kill Charlie. This is what we need to focus on. We've got to get away from the second shooter blues. We got to get ourselves thinking about the team and the metadata around the team, right? So again, we follow them. We don't just take a factoid of he's about 15 minutes before he's going to get on a plane. He likes Superman blizzards, right? We have citizen journalists go there, 3 different ones to verify, validate, right? And now we need to build this timeline from him getting from Provo to St. George. Why? Everybody says, well, he's not the shooter. He is the diversion, though, and he leads us to the team. We've got to get something to the team. An exploding microphone doesn't lead us to the team. What are we going to go? Raid lavalier microphones factory? You're all under arrest. We know you made the microphone that killed Charlie. No, I don't think we can do that. We have to get back to the team. We have to focus on things that take us to the team. We got to use the string method where you take data and take evidence that leads you in the direction of figuring out the bigger picture, right? And he is that guy. Here's that dark flight from 654 that we think Charlie gets on this flight. We know the plane is in Provo that night and it flies back late. So we think Charlie spent the night and didn't drive that night. We can look at the flock cameras, but we're trying to figure out how did Charlie get back to St. George the next day to turn himself in, right? Here is the jet vanishes. We got a vanishing jet turning off the transponder. That's another sure sign of it's sort of like when a criminal turns his lights off when he's trying to make a getaway, right? It's a sure sign that they're trying to hide their exit. It's not normal behavior. So again, we have all these comings and goings to the Navajo Indian Reservation. Too bad we didn't have drones there that night, right? But here we are on the 10th, just to remind everybody how this works. And if focusing on the metadata, we're in the right spot on the 10th. Okay, they're not. The FBI is not. By the citizen journalist method, we're focusing in. We're actually talking in this video. I talk about the airport, right? To my right, I talk about the ATF office. We're honing in here, right? The FBI comes out the next day and says they have no idea where the killer is, right? We're honing in on the 10th. Just want to make that point clear. And this is what we think we interrupted. Charlie was going to be coming in to St. George, ROTC. It was going to be an easy deal. Nobody saw him. No reporting. Free and easy. He's waiting at the Navajo Indian Reservation, right? Well, it changed, right? And again, we have all the receipts here from FlightAware. FlightAware is this public data where you have an antenna. Anybody can put an antenna up. You can see what's flying over your house with this thing. It only costs $100. You then contribute this FlightAware information to this bigger database. The database is up in the cloud. Now anybody can query anything coming and going over your house and everybody else's house. We have the flight data. We know it went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, almost like Barry Seal trying to get, his end of month drug running numbers up and his gun running numbers up, making 3 flights in one day back and forth. So we have all the receipts. Again, we want to go to the team. The team, how many seats are on the Bombardier? About 9, 10, right? That's a team, right? That's not the exploding microphone. We're not arresting people that are making lavalier mics now. We're going to the team, right? We're going at the team. We have copious detail on all of the comings and goings from the transponder and when the transponder went off. We have all the receipts from MonkeyWorks. And basically, this first night, we believe that he spends, Tyler spends the first night at the Navajo Indian Nation. If someone has a picture of the Dodge Gray Challenger on the flock cameras going back to St. George that first night, we're all ears. But we know we have the plane going back and forth, Navajo strong plane going back and forth, right? I got the Navajo strong plane going back and forth. I mean, it's like they may as well have put Utah Contra on the side of the plane, right? When you get into all their associations and so forth. So again, here is the nice landing in Page, Arizona. There's nobody there. It's after dark, right? The Page Executive Airport, you go, and the FBI is not allowed in there. You remember Wounded Knee was all about the FBI with not being able to encroach on the sovereign Indian nation. They can't come in without permission, and they have to go through Jack Abramoff and the Chicago mob before they're allowed to come in. So it's the perfect safe haven for drug operations, gun running operations, and to hide murderers, safe havens for murderers and so forth. There it is again. If you don't believe me, there's MonkeyWorks talking about that late dark shadow flight. And again, if we know and his Dodge Challenger has license plates, why didn't they put out a bolo on his license plate? If it's T45 5DE or 5CE, it would still be easily picked up. Why didn't they put it out the bolo? Well, because I think they brought the Challenger the next day, and they don't want to show you who brought the Challenger the next day, right? They know Tyler isn't driving the car, but he's going to be arraigned this week. They don't have the grand jury system in Utah. They have what they call a preliminary hearing system, where a preliminary judge listens to the data and then decides if he's going to refer it on to be tried. At that point, he'll be formally arraigned, and he'll be asked to put in a guilty or not guilty plea. So all that is happening this week. I thought that was happening today on the 25th. And so because of the investigation, we may or may not be able to bring you that live. We'll cover it for sure, but because it's Zoom, because it's WebEx, it's going to be WebEx. There's no physical access to see him at that location. But we'll bring it to you. We have copious receipts of his ROTC. We have now, albums of his ROTC participation with Tyler, and we know that this is where the ATF criminals are recruiting to put forth their sort of Monica Lewinsky type diversions, right? We know that the school plays are being generated out of these ROTC. And the anti-ROTC here is also for people who don't want to join ROTC but are still violent, right? The people who have expressed violent opinions against Charlie, they go get recruited by all queers and these other organizations, Insurgency USA in the case of John Sullivan and so forth. So we know ROTC is where they go. It's not really armed queers. It's armed peers. It's armed peers, right? We're going to arm both sides, right? We're going to arm the ROTC kids on the right. We're going to arm the armed peers on the left with Antifa funding, Soros funding, and so forth. And then we're going to have this strategy of tension in the schools, strategy of tension going all the way back to Angleton and in the CIA in Italy, and then in the Operation Gladio, strategy of tension. Both sides, strategy of tension with two different gangs in Los Angeles to run the drugs in Iran-Contra, where we have Crips and Bloods, right? And there happens to be a pipeline, an oil pipeline, Howard Hughes oil pipeline going right down the middle, and Los Angeles is this wide. It's huge up here. It's this wide going through Compton, and it's this wide. The mayor of Compton saw that. And I talked to the mayor of Compton. I said, you know why they got you fighting versus the Bloods, and why the Crips and Bloods are fighting? So no one will get near the pipeline, right? He goes, you know what? After looking at your map, I think you're right. So you saw me with Omar Bradley and the mayor of Compton talking about that. It is Iran-Contra. It is Utah-Contra. There is no difference. Monica Lewinsky was the school play back then to get you to look the other way. Now we've got the exploding microphone. It's just that simple. You never get this kind of evidence where you get down into the right right? Where you get the skin pulling out right before the bullet breaks the skin. Why would you want to throw that evidence on the floor and come up with other wacky theories? Why wouldn't you take that evidence, right, and say, second shooter, that means team, we're done here. We're done with the amphitheater. We're moving on to the team. We're moving on to things outside the amphitheater, right? That's the key, right? Is move outside the amphitheater. We're done with the amphitheater. Now let's go outside the amphitheater, right? That's where the action is, okay? So various folks have talked about the Zionist Organization of America, the ZOA organization. I do a show with the Super Jew. We do 52,000 stories of the Holocaust. That's more than all of the other Holocaust museums combined, right? We did the Birth of Israel, the Birth of a Nation series with Cindy Janice Meyer and her father. Again, we're beyond all reproach, but we're presenting the information. This is a theory. Again, we're focusing outside the amphitheater, not inside, right? We can all be gladiators and all be like 50 monkeys and one banana and fight over the one banana inside the amphitheater. That's what they want. That's what they want us all to be fighting over, one banana, which point on thing is exactly the point where it came from. And we'll strangle each other with bullet trajectory string because we feel so strongly about our one thing. It's time to leave the arena. The game is over there. We know it's two shooters. Now is the time to go get the team. The team bus is left. The team bus that did the assassination is left. We're all sitting there arguing over the confetti on the floor. It's time to go after the team. Okay, so ZOA is it. You may know Shillman. Shillman wanted to have his name removed off TP USA about a week before the shooting. He gives a lot of money to ZOA, which is a sort of a Chabad Lubavitch organization that, and Avanim Dror as well. It's a Mossad IDF funding organization, a spy funding organization. The Shillman receives all the technology from Technion. Technion is the MIT of Israel. It is an exfiltration operation, no question. Is that the person who killed Charlie? He had a big argument and wanted to rip his name off the building a week before. I don't think it is. I don't think it is, but we're presenting the information anyway, right? Just so you don't think we're, sheltering Israel and protecting Israel. There it is. There's Shillman. We don't believe that's true. The other plane that a lot of people are talking about is also owned in the defense industry with Mossad connections, which is Contour Air, right? These people think that there's drones dropped from this and they're watching this plane and so forth. So we put it in there. We're not hiding it from anybody. Here's the various information about where the planes are going to with this other plane and where it's being sold now here. So anyway, this is the current thinking right now here with the FBI. This is the current bullet path. It makes more loop-de-loops than a stunt pilot, right? It's got more loop-de-loops in it than Crazy Wrong Right, as far as stunt pilots. And the bullet path, they keep, now we're adding new twists and new turns to the bullet path. So by the time this is over with, it's going to look like a very contorted plate of spaghetti. It's time to say bullets are travel in straight lines. It's time to face facts and say bullets travel in straight lines. When they come out like this, when they're stretching the skin before they break the skin, you can only pray for that kind of information. It's time to say bullets travel in straight lines, right? And here, we're not keeping any secrets. We're saying where both sides are recruited from. Armed peers, right? This was the ATF guys working with these kids, training them how to shoot and making this look like an armed queers assassination, right? The final shooter is probably going to be some ATF Fast and Furious trained shooter from these recruiting organizations, either on the ROTC side, like Tyler, or on the armed queer side, like the people they brought in from Iran or the people they brought in from Pakistan. And again, we have a Pakistani agent, Syed. She's running the Pakistan. She was the Pakistan person in the FBI that was fired 2 weeks before this, so it probably came from Pakistan. But here's their alibi. The people who own N888, here's their alibi, and they give an alibi for the afternoon flight, not the night shadow flight, not the night covert flight. again, when you see people giving alibis and not acknowledging that there was a late night shadow flight, you know that that's where you need to look. All right. But I put their alibi in here just in case. Our peers were really looking strongly at Air Force. We're looking strongly like the John Sullivan. You know, I somehow have the CNN film of Ashley Babbitt being killed before any of the other media. It's in a closed off room, and I'm the only one with the film. CNN's the only one with the film, so we can make sure we control the narrative. This looks like an Air Force ROTC operation. Not saying there isn't some Army ROTC here. Not saying there isn't some Navy ROTC in here as well. So again, that's why we're staying in cheap hotels in all the university towns. Okay. Again, it wasn't a Dodge Challenger. We don't believe it was a Bombardier Challenger. And because we have the signature, right? If this car went back and forth 6 times and somebody could prove that to me and have flight aware radar on that, I'd be all over the Dodge Challenger. But no, we have that kind of data over here for the plane. And again, people don't think Charlie's ever flown on a multi-seat plane. I can tell you that's not true. Okay, we're going to go back here really quick to the Substack or the live stream. Sorry I wasn't able to get to all your messages, but I'll try to get through them as quickly as I can right now. Does anyone geofence the event? That's a great question, and I don't have the money to geofence the event. I wish I could. Cash Patel does. So again, if we can go to, for instance, Tyler's house, we can go to the house where all these people are coming and going with Twig's house, supposedly, right, is an obvious place to go. We can go to the ROTC locations and geofence and cross-interface those. We can go to the state capitol steps for when these various armed queers were generated. We could get data. I'm here. I'm willing to do it. You know, I got time. So anybody who has the money and wants to do this, they did this with Crook's home and Crook's work. And we immediately got those 20 hits, and immediately they hid 6 of them because those were the other stops on the white van to take the kids for shooting lessons at Clarendon. But I'm just saying that the geofencing does work. Bullets do not create wind gusts. Go stand by a train or go stand by a bus when it goes by you. Okay, right? There's energy there, and the energy there's air molecules that are static. Okay, and what happens is the force is moving them, and it compresses the air, and then it's released. The energy is released, right? Because the things want to go back to equilibrium. Okay, again, you never get this. You never get this ever. We have this in this case. It tells you exactly where the shot came from. You never get that, right? Again, here we're all arguing in the amphitheater, right? Nobody talking about the team, right? So it's not Motel 6. Not Motel 6. All right, hold on. Hang on. Hold the phone. There you go. Super 8. Okay. So there you go. What can I say? And then now we have the people trying to organize our death. All right, you got the people from England trying to organize our death. Didn't we just have somebody trying to incite death and then the person get his head blown off? Right. So why wouldn't we want to have Interpol right on this person's ass right now, going in and dragging him out by their heels on their ass? Right? Why wouldn't we want to have that right now? That's what you got here. Right. And again, they go after us like this. This is hate speech. Okay. So, but it does exist. And people say the Holocaust deniers and stuff. I mean, this is the stuff we put up with. So anyway, Audio Files, Aaron Adler, UVU mentors, Gary Browning, very interesting career. Had a pipeline with LDS in Russia, would-be team leaders. Yeah, these were all, LDS was a big part of, foreign operative because they do the student missions. Nothing wrong against LDS. But when you have a very strong fundamentalist, FLDS, the Robert Allen Hale wing of LDS, we're talking about the I.B. Hale wing of LDS, where they think, hey, God told me to seed all these women. I'm supposed to kill all these. If the woman is beautiful, I'm supposed to kill the husband, and I'm supposed to have an unexplained death, and then I'm supposed to inherit that woman and then take care of that woman and then spread my seed and have 50 wives. It's sort of kind of like the Muslim thing, right? With Muhammad, it's sort of like that Muhammad idea of, hey, I should kill all the other tribes and then take their women and then create, more of my tribe, right? That's the same thinking, right? I'm talking about FLDS. I'm talking about a very extreme wing of LDS. Okay. This is Mitt Romney's grandfather, though. Right? This is Mitt Romney's grandfather. I think secretly it still is Mitt Romney's belief. Shockwave moves from right to left. Yes. I mean, you don't get normally evidence like this, and we're throwing it on the floor, and we're all arguing over these things. Can we all agree it's a team? I got the second shooter. I got the second shooter blues, right? I got the second shooter. I said I got the second shooter. I got the second shooter blues, right? I think we all got the second shooter blues. Let's get away from the second shooter blues. Let's just not sing it. They say, how many country singers does it take to change a light bulb? 1 to change the light bulb, and then 10 to sing about how much they miss the old one. That's not a productive activity. It's not a productive activity. Robert Allen Hale. This is very Robert Allen Hale and I.B. Hale. It's the same thing with Matt Robinson, same thing with his son. That's what you're not seeing. You're not seeing I.B. Hale here turning his, Robert Allen Hale in, right? When they finally track the Mauser to Robert Allen Hale's doorstep, then they go, well, I'm going to turn him in, right? And then we'll queer the evidence. We saw yesterday this guy who on the next day went in and stole the evidence, and it looks like an SKS, right? Why would you send a guy in? Looks like he has an earpiece, an ear radio, right? And he goes in and he steals the SKS, and now we replace it with Grandpa's Mauser. Why would you queer the evidence like that? It's the only reason you would do that is so he would be acquitted. Okay, where does Rogue ATF get the funding? That's an easy one. Drugs, big time. Incredible amount of money. So people going after my heritage again. People going after my heritage. Oh, it never fails. Trying to organize my death. Let's see. Does Erica's dad have a long history of the military? I think he has a DOD background. Stay alive. I'm going to try. I'm trying to stay one ahead of these stalkers who are trying to organize my murder. So when I don't give all the information, you realize I don't want to end up like Gary Webb and Danny Casolaro here. That's the selfish part. Again, arguing the forensics right now, I don't think is our best use of our time. It's arguing the team is the way to go. Opus Dei, people are putting up the dog jumped. How do you rate Kash Patel at the moment? Rapidly improving. He's obviously listening. He came out, that was huge. He came out here, that was huge. He needs to come back here, right? I think he's getting better. Carbine, 9/11, we've talked about Greg Carr, we've talked about the 80 couples, the art students, not the art students that were, that they accused of pre-wiring our WTC, but the ones that went out and did all the surveillance on all the sheriffs in the 80 largest counties in America, right? With Comverse, the Comverse, Comverse, and the AMDocs, American Documents, the AMDocs. So we've talked a lot about how getting in the 9/11 puts you in the catbird seat as far as all of the information, and then you just cycle all that information, see who the violent people are, see who's committing the crimes. You don't need to pull the crime records because most cases never go to court, right? The 9/11 gives you a unique insight, right, of what really happens, and that's where Carbine is with Palantir. Why aren't any real pictures of Kirk's kids' faces? All right. I guess people are competing almost for a slip and slide. Remember this, he was a paper pusher in Washington while we were out beating the streets, and I was learning the ropes from task force before she died suspiciously, right? We were beating the streets every day, night and day. He over in Devin Nunes's office, he was pushing papers around, pushing papers. He's still a little bit doctrinaire in terms of what he can and can't do. He needs a little Mississippi burning in his soul. He needs a little Gene Hackman in his soul, right? We got to get this shit done, all right? There's some corners we might have to cut. You got to stay alive, right? And you might have to cut a few corners, okay? So that's how it is. Why did the necklace fly off? Again, we're just seemingly can't get out of the amphitheater. We can't get out of the amphitheater. It's just so difficult. It just keeps drawing us back in. We can't seem to get out of the amphitheater. The game's over, right? It's a second shooter. It's a team, right? You just saw the basketball game, and you now have proof there's more than one player. So it's not one guy in the gym shooting by himself. It's a team. The bus is leaving, right? So you got to go get that bus, right? If you say, well, no, the jump shot was a little bit farther out. I'm going to put the X on the thing where Webb hit the, where it when he went over 1,000 points, at Miami. That's where it was. Okay, no. I'm going to say Webb was over here when he went over 1,000 points. Oh, he was over here when he got the rebound. Okay, when he went over 660 rebounds and got fourth on the rebound list, he's over here. Let's argue about that. No, that's not what you want to argue about. You want to get the team bus before it gets to Panama or wherever it's going. So there you go. Promise Software, we talked about Promise going to P-Tech, going to Palantir, going to Prism to Palantir. I've got a whole Substack on it. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to blow through anything that's amphitheater. I'm going to just blow through anything that's amphitheater because it doesn't make any sense. Yes, basketball's there. We're there. Yes, basketball players were there. Yes, there's a score on the scoreboard. Yes, we know it was a team. Okay. All right. Now, the team is the one that killed Charlie. Okay. So focusing on the basketball right now and looking at the basketball from every different angle and saying, oh, no, I think it was inflated to 14.8 pounds. No. It was 14.9. No, I can clearly show it was 15 pounds. It was okay, great. We've proved that the basketball was overinflated, but the team's getting away. Okay. The team is getting away. All right. So hello, everyone. We'll go here. Let's see. Probably stayed relatives. Yeah. The, well, more death threats. Okay. That's not only do you make $8 a month on paid Substack, but the people who have been running the drugs for 300 years, the British East India Company, in combination with the British royal family, and they get to come on here and try to orchestrate my murder live, Kash Patel. So that's always nice. That's always comforting. So that's always comforting. Okay. Garland, Texas. Look at what they did in Garland, Texas. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to just shut it down. Hamamoto did a great live stream with Sean Atwood. I saw that. I thought it was great. Dr. Hamamoto's great. Gay camp and so forth. Okay, we're just going to leave it there.
Remarkable. We continue to whittle away at the official FBI narrative that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman, fired a shot that killed Charlie Kirk. New video evidence has emerged from an eyewitness in the crowd off to Charlie's right side. If you're looking at it, it would have been Charlie's right side, but camera left in the audience at quite a little bit of a distance, but not too far with a telephoto lens. Finally, some HD footage that we can discuss here on the show, and it reveals something pretty remarkable. So again, we will show it to you and have a discussion about it. We have a lot of new details that emerged over the past 24 hours that we want to go over today. Joining me now is investigative journalist Ryan Mata. He's been all over this story, millions of people watching his coverage of this, and we want to kind of walk through this entire new timeline here and discuss what we have here. Ryan, welcome back to the show. Great to see you, my friend.
Always an honor, Clayton. Thanks for having me, and Natalie.
All right, so let's start off. Maybe we can kind of contextualize some of the official story here and where this is sort of falling apart. I mean, we can literally just go like right to the roof, right? And the running on the rooftops.
Yeah, absolutely, Clayton. So the video you guys are watching here is of the FBI video. Now, this comes directly from the FBI's official YouTube channel. So we know it's legit. It was given to us by the FBI. And if you notice the timestamp there in the top left, when that timestamp started, when the video actually first started there, it was at 12:23.34. So it takes him roughly approximately 14 to 16 seconds to get exactly into that position, which will be 12:23.50. Now, when we started to analyze this footage, it was Blake Bednarz who just first broke this footage, and he sent me this video, and he goes, "Listen, look at man." He goes, "From this CCTV video, from where the FBI is showing us here, you could actually see the sniper's prone position." So when they first zoomed out on that footage when it very first started, you could actually see the position where Tyler would have, quote unquote, been laying on that roof. And it was Blake who sent me the footage originally. And he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "check this out in the cafeteria view." So if you switch to the cafeteria view, you can actually see the man running across the roof, right? Really slow motion. You clearly see somebody moving across that roof. Okay, now the question is, when was he running? Now, there's another video I sent your team, and it's actually, you're going to start to see the crowd here. You're going to see the crowd, and the crowd's going to start to crouch down, okay? So if we put that into this slow motion feed that I sent you, and we scrub back and forth, you're going to see the crowd go up and down, up and down, up and down, right there. See how it goes? So you can see the crowd actually getting ready to sit down, and you move it back.
And he's already running. And he's already running if you look at the rooftop.
Bingo, right? So then we went out to the outside footage, and I said, okay, I'm going to put this in my computer, and I'm going to press play at the 8-second mark of this random clip I had on my computer. And when you press play, and you hear bang, as soon as you press play, and then I go, okay, I'm going to stop the video immediately when the crowd actually is fully set down, and it's 3 seconds, Clayton. So that tells you that from when that shot was fired, whoever was on that roof was in a full sprint within 3 seconds of Charlie Kirk being shot. That man on the roof was sprinting literally before the people that were outside could even realize that Charlie's been hit. I mean, he got shot right in front of them, and it takes them 2 or 3 seconds to go, oh crap, he's been hit. And they all start to go, all duck down at the same time. And that's how we know exactly when that person was running across the roof. So that was kind of like the first thing we kind of just started to discuss when I was talking to you earlier, was like,
can I just stop you there? Because this tracks
absolutely.
with other independent reporting from Candace Owens. She tracked down the person who had filmed prior to the event saying, look, there's weird. That's a guy on the roof. That's strange. The person that they said they saw was in tactical gear with a different gun. That's what they told Candace Owens. And then the FBI says this guy was in plain clothes. So it would track that there's a discrepancy between that. And then one other thing that's always bothered me about that official FBI running across the roof is that if people duck immediately after and scream, we've heard the screams in the crowd, why are the people walking behind that building walking so casually? They would presumably have heard a scream and commotion just around that corner. So what do you think of those two bits?
Yeah, I'll start with the screams. You're talking about when the FBI shows us that video, there's just somebody just moseying through the parking lot.
Yes.
Like nothing ever happened right here.
Behind the tree. Okay. So look at the trees on your right.
Even to the left, if you notice in the left of that shot, right at the very beginning of that shot, there's just someone casually walking through the parking lot at the far left of the screen. You can see him, just kind of walking along.
Yeah,
you see the shadow.
And the people under this major, that looks like a big oak or something, or actually maybe deciduous. But anyway, they're not running, even though around the corner in the quad, people are screaming and running. They should have by this time got the notice and started running and panicking too.
Yeah, so that was 16 seconds, 18 seconds roughly after, or maybe 21 seconds after the shot was fired, that he's actually probably hitting the ground right there. The best explanation I can say for why aren't people, a lot of people go, how many kids are at campus with their headphones in? And they're just, you leave campus, you put your headphones in, and you're just going about completely oblivious to everything that's going on around you.
I'll give you that. Sure.
And pretty far from the quad, to be honest.
Very far. It's at least 145, 150 yards. So, and with the how that campus was set up and how it's so layered and how the sound could have maybe been, trapped in there. But if that guy was on the roof and fired that shot, you're talking about the firing the bullet and the gun going off maybe 20 yards from you. I don't know, even with headphones, we heard how loud that sounded up close to Charlie. I don't know if the people in that parking lot, if somebody was on that roof and fired that shot and you're walking through that parking lot 10 seconds later, I don't know if you would not have been like,
what the heck?
Now, the other video that Natalie was referencing, we showed it here on the show, I think the day after Charlie was shot, or roughly right in that same. We showed the video of those individuals, 2 individuals pointing to the rooftop and noticing an individual there. That's a different roof line. And according to Candace's reporting, someone wearing tactical gear and a mask. And they actually witnessed a gunshot from that separate location. So again, this official FBI.
This person continues to tell Candace Owens that that was not the same gun, that it was someone who knew guns and recognized that was a different gun, and that the person they saw was not in plain clothes but tactical gear.
Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is where those people were in position. They were kind of parallel to the Sparks building. And I was talking to this with Stephen Gardner, and he went back to the scene, and me and him had kind of been sharing info and going back and forth. And he goes, man, these people are telling that Candace that they seen this man in tactical gear from that position where they were filming is about 535 feet from that roof. So then I think, okay, half a football field, roughly a football field's what, like 900 feet. So at the 450 foot mark, they'd be a little bit farther than that. When you're in the end zone of a football field, can you look down and tell if somebody's wearing a mask or not and in tactical gear? I do think you can pretty distinctively make out a uniform and the fact that a football player has a helmet on. So if this person does have a mask on, I would say that Candace's reporting is pretty much holding up. And the most important part about that reporting is the time. So Candace got the actual timestamp. So in that video, when it starts playing, they're going, hey, we just watched this. Is he already in position? We just watched him run across the roof. She said that timestamp on that video is 12:22. So that would have been 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes tops before the shot was fired. So somehow this kid is running across the roof, lays down, gets in position, somehow controls his heartbeat, controls his breathing. I'm no expert sniper. I'm not even a gun guy, but I hear if you're 1 centimeter off with that scope, if that X is 1 centimeter off, you're missing your target. So somehow this guy is in a full sprint, runs across the roof. It's about 30 to 45 yard sprint to get into that position from where he would have jumped on the railing, lays down, gets in position, takes that shot. And the craziest part is within 3 seconds, somehow magically has that rifle in his hand and wrapped in some type of towel. So he would have had to stand up. If it was quote unquote a towel and not a gun bag, he would have somehow had to get that in that gun bag and then get into a full sprint. But this brings us back to my main point is that we don't have that CCTV footage. If the FBI is the most transparent FBI in all of the Trump administration or the American history, then why would they release a video 3 seconds after the shot was fired? If you could just give us maybe 2 more minutes, you would actually show him getting onto the roof and running across the roof, getting down in position, taking that shot. So my question, go ahead, Ken.
No, you're right. So all of those things, why just release the footage, FBI? Like, why cut off the first, as we pointed out last week on the show, give us that footage.
And can I just go back a little bit on that point while we're on the gun? We still don't know how the gun got up there in the first place. They're talking about how he might have hobbled up with it in his pants. We don't have none of that makes sense. We don't have a confession. We don't have a bullet. The case against him is weak. Go ahead.
And Eye Candy in our chat says, yes, it came over the scanner, the police scanner, that he was wearing tactical gear and a mask. So a separate police scanner confirmation. Part of the matter, Ryan, which is this new video evidence. And I think, so we talked about the inconsistencies on the Tyler Robinson piece of this. Now let's get to, I want to show some new footage here. So what we're seeing here is some new footage that was obtained. It was released yesterday.
Are we going to see the shot? We should warn.
No, we're not.
Okay.
So this is some new, what are we seeing here? This is like 10 minutes of footage filmed at a location. And I'm going to show, just so you can see the vantage point. This is never before seen footage until yesterday that was just released. And the person filming it, I want to show this photo of where this vantage. So this person here with I think a pretty strong, like maybe a Panasonic or Sony camera with even like a boom microphone from that location. So can you tell us what we're seeing here, and then we'll get to the further close-up evidence.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is this was a gentleman filming from quite far away. And what you're going to watch here is you're going to watch the microphone. I want your audience to pay attention to that little black dot on the top left of Charlie's shirt, because it's really important. That's what we believe. That looks like there's some type of explosion that that happens under his shirt right at the moment of impact. Now,
and we should say you're not going to see blood here. We're gonna stop it right after this thing potentially explodes, basically. So let's roll that footage here. But you're not going to see the horrible aftermath. We just want to warn people about that. All right. So this is the footage here. This is a wide shot. Puts the mic down, and now here's a closer version. So Ryan, what are we seeing here?
Go ahead. You're going to watch. I want you to pay attention right there. He pauses it. You see it pause, and you almost see like a cloud of smoke. There is some type of explosion. There is something happening under that shirt. And I want you to watch to the right. Do you see that? How like his neck, it was almost like a big gust of wind or something. Something happened under that shirt, and it blows his shirt right off to the right. And Hugh, you'll see it right here. Watch to the right and then watch the left on the mic. So you see the explosion there. It is, see that air pocket? It was almost like some weird air pocket caused his shirt to shoot up like that. And at the same time, what you can't actually see in this video is Charlie Kirk has on that silver necklace. And if your audience remembers, we thought we were watching his earphone, his earpiece get blown out of his ear, and we couldn't make sense of that. Well, according to Candace, that was his necklace. That was his chain necklace that you seen actually getting blown off and blowing over his ear. And now I have a chain necklace on, right? I have this gold cross on. How would it be possible? I thought maybe like the bullet went through his neck and you could see it protruding out the back of his spine. So I thought maybe that the force, even though the bullet didn't get through, it was just such a rapid force in the back of his neck that somehow it snapped the chain. But the chain breaks in the front. So how does the chain break in the front and then go off backwards over my ear? That was the one part I could never figure out. Okay, so we have the chain breaking, we have it blowing off over the back of his head, and at the same time now we have evidence that's showing some device on Charlie's shirt that looks like it gets detonated, and you see this huge puff of air blow up his shirt, while at the same time, that was the first video that we seen where you could actually see, like it looked like a little cloud of smoke, a little cloud of air. I don't know what that was, but it was coming out right from under his shirt, exactly where that microphone was.
Now, John Bray has been analyzing this, and let's just put up this post by John Bray. So first, this picture here, John Bray, based solely on my analysis of the two angles of the events on September 10th, I have come to the conclusion that this is the object that struck Charlie Kirk in the neck. Now, what is that? Now, it could be a DJI microphone or a Rode microphone, which is just magnetically clipped here. I'm just going to show you some footage I filmed a few minutes ago of my DJI microphone so you can understand what this looks like. So here's a DJI microphone. These are wireless lapel mics, and this uses a magnet. This is a very strong magnet here. It's even hard to pull off, and it just like clips on the shirt. So you would put that on your front of your shirt and it just would clip right there to the back, and that microphone would be facing his mouth to pick up his speech and sort of any sort of ambient noise. But it's a really good, I think, omnidirectional microphone, right? You know more about this, Ryan, than I would, right?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. You're spot on. So in John Bray's reporting, he's basically went down into the breakthrough of how you could basically remove a percentage of the battery from that device. Obviously, if you're a foreign intelligence agency and you have the ability to create.
Now, Israel, if you think about it, what they're saying is his security team was
create and make all of these devices. We've seen it with the pagers before.
About that, his security team was Israeli security team. We've seen the Israelis use these explosive devices to take out the leaders in Hezbollah.
Agency, and you have the ability to create and make all of these devices. We've seen it with the pagers before. He's claiming that you could have removed a percentage of that battery, and then you could have put a 2-gram PETN charge, and it still would have functioned and had no indication that it had been tampered with. And then there would be an explosive charge inside of that device, which when detonated, that's what would have either I know some people are thinking that the magnetic piece went into his throat. I personally don't think so. I think that built into that little device, there was some type of charge that detonated, and that's what we saw catch him right there in the throat. That would be my best guess. But, you know, one of the things that me and Clayton were talking about is, you know, we watched the Turning Point team go and tamper with the evidence, and everybody was so focused on specifically the camera right behind him. But there was a camera right in front of him that was literally 6, 7, 8 feet in front of him at best. I showed it to Clayton in a minute ago in a text message. And where is this footage from Turning Point? I think at this point, we're all left with a lot of questions. We don't know how this would have happened. We don't know if it would have happened. We don't know if that device was anything under his shirt. But the missing footage and the fact that Turning Point employees were going there and removing memory cards from this active crime scene leaves us with a lot of questions. And if we know that they have those memory cards, I think at this point, we should be almost demanding that, you know, this is Charlie's organization. Charlie was the biggest advocate for release the Epstein files. And then when Megyn Kelly's like, oh, the pedophile stuff, and Charlie's like, no, I mean, release all of them. Let the public see what these people do, release it all and give it to the public. So we have an opportunity right here, right now to say, hey, Turning Point, like it's Charlie's legacy. This is his investigation. He would want more than anybody for everybody out here, especially the independent journalists, to have access to this footage.
Right. Well, those employees have said that the SD cards are in the hands of the FBI. So that maybe went from one questionable source to a even more questionable.
Oh, good. The FBI has it.
Right. So I don't know what to think about that. And then separately, Candace Owens has confirmed, because she's able to talk to people inside Turning Point and the crews and the sound technicians and things like that, that he was not wearing a bulletproof vest. And he was not wearing an earpiece. So we can at least rule those things out, because that's something that we had been.
Well, I was telling Ryan this morning, Ryan and I were talking this morning. I said, I use these DJI mics all the time. There's under no circumstances would I have an earpiece in. There's no evidence that he was wearing a pack on his back, on his pants, anything. So why would you have an earpiece in? So that thing that flies up makes a lot of sense to, if that is in fact his necklace.
Right. But what you're talking about here is born identity level, you know, tampering with everyday objects and weaponizing them. It's almost too unbelievable.
We'll go to this, but like,
what else we can't, but everything is unbelievable. So we can even, I mean, it just feels so crazy, but we can't, there's nothing we can rule out.
I mean, it's not that unbelievable because Israel pulled it off against, was it Iran, with the cell phones? We know that the everyday devices can be people, like on a large scale.
A bunch of people in our chat room are saying, what about the pagers?
The pagers.
Yeah, I mean,
in Lebanon.
Yeah. And those pagers were going off in London too. They weren't just like set to Lebanon. It was all over the world where those pagers went off.
Yeah, and one more part I want to add to this, because a lot of people are going, this is too big. There's too many moving parts. There's too many people that would have had to have been involved to cover up something like this. So I started doing a little bit of research, and somebody sent me a link for Werner Spitz. So it's S-P-I-T-Z, Werner, W-E-R-N-E-R. So Werner Yuri Spitz was born on August 22nd of 1926. He died in 2024. He was a German-American forensic pathologist who worked on a number of high-profile cases, including the assassination of President John Kennedy, the Reverend Martin Luther King. He also testified at the trials of Casey Anthony and Phil Spector in 1996 civil case against O.J. Simpson. So you mean to tell me that they were able to get that guy to work on every one of those cases, and we know there was a lot of funky stuff going on with JFK, Martin Luther King, Casey Anthony, and this guy magically worked on all of those cases. So I'm asking here now, where is the coroner? Where are the doctors? Where was the surgeon at? Where were the reports when they received him at the hospital? And who were these people? I think at this point,
what's
everyone
Spitz's connection to this case now?
No, he's just he
he doesn't have a connection.
No,
to this
I was
case.
saying that. Well, we have the same doctor that worked on all of these other assassinations. It was one doctor that worked on all of these high-profile cases. So I'm saying that if the people are going, oh no, the doctors would have had to know. The doctors would have had to have been involved. And I'm saying, well, we have past cases where the doctors were involved, because that's what Ian Carroll said to me. He goes, dude, the coroners, they're always involved in this. And I go, oh yeah, Obama's chef drowned in a puddle of water, and didn't Obama fly in his personal doctor to do the autopsy on that guy?
Right. I'm also very curious about the caliber of the defense attorney that Tyler Robinson will have, because this is a dream case for, a defendant, because the government's evidence is so paper thin, unless we get a patsy who's the defense attorney. So do we know that yet? I haven't actually looked for myself. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, we haven't yet. I thought he was getting appointed somebody, but I could be wrong. And one other point I want to point out, because you guys have been following this for a long time. You guys have been in the media for a really long time. When has there ever been a high-profile killer or an assassin or anything on this level where the media wasn't surrounding that person's property? It feels like anytime that there's been a high-profile case like this, the media is literally camped out on the sidewalks out in front of these people's homes, just trying to catch an interview with the parents or something like that. I don't know. That's why I kind of wanted to ask you guys about that.
No, I think that's very interesting. It's also the same in Butler. I mean, there was a little bit of interaction with the parents from some local media. They were basically squashed, and then you didn't see any information about that ever again. And then when, of course, Matthew Crook's body was mysteriously cremated, or whoever body was actually cremated that day, we don't exactly know, but and then wiped clean. There's no more discussions with them at all. So that's a great point. As Robert in our chat says, Robert Chatterley in our Rumble chat says, bullets do not create enough drag to lift a shirt. A pre-charged pneumatic from under the stage would, or perhaps an explosive device. But Ryan, I think we got to leave it there. But this is the new evidence today, the new video evidence. And as I said to you, or as you said to me, hopefully the turning points, that camera, the information that we have right there that was trained directly on Charlie, hopefully people will be able to, independent journalists will be able to analyze that footage. We know Candace has been able to see the footage from behind, but we want to see the footage from the front. It would confirm all of this. Plus, how many other people were in the front 3, 5, 7 rows filming with a 4K iPhone or an Android device or something, getting footage. So over the next few days, we are going to see more and more evidence coming forward. Follow Ryan's great work.
Cool thing. Follow me.